Hey, what's going on, guys? Xbox All In channel, host Sega Forever here. Now I'm running a little bit late with the podcast. I actually wanted to do this earlier, but as you know, in life things change, and so does my schedule. Some of the stuff that I thought I would be doing this weekend, I will not be. But I did want to get the podcast off because this is the first official weekend that I'm going to be doing it. And if you guys want to annotate this, if you guys like the content and you want to watch this podcast regularly, it's going to be every other week. As you guys know, I do a Wrecking Crew podcast, which is every other week as well. So if I do a Wrecking Crew podcast, and if you like that, fine. But if you prefer this kind of content, it's going to happen the week after. So I'll be doing one podcast every week when it comes to either pop culture or specifically Xbox, which is going to encompass video games in general. So that's going to be the schedule moving forward. Sorry, I can't be as consistent as I would want to be, but the reality is that I got a lot of stuff going on. Um, a lot of adulting, as people like to say, and that takes precedence over this channel, which is fine, man. Because look, this is a hobby and a lifestyle for me as well. But the reality is that you got to deal with things, and that's just the way I am. You know, I have priorities that I take place over gaming. I have priorities that take place over enjoying pop culture, and not to say that I don't like this stuff or I'm getting tired of it. I know I've done a couple videos on my channel that speak specifically to Xbox, and I didn't want to give people the wrong impression. I was just thinking out loud and looking at the TVs like I always do. And then when I do stuff like that, I take myself out of the emotional connection I might have with Xbox, right? And so I've been talking about the momentum of Xbox and how it's kind of died off, which is just the truth, guys. Like I said, I'll keep it 100 here. Sorry about the background noise. I'm doing it in the morning. There's a lot of birds around here. So there's nothing I can really do about it. And then I got one of my neighbors. I don't know what he's doing, building another house or something. He's running a saw, which is funny to me, man. The neighborhood I live in is not big. It's very small. If you guys know anything about where I live in Hawaii, man, space is a commodity here, right? Which is why housing and stuff and land is so expensive. Um, but anyway, sorry about the background noise. Again, there's really nothing I can do about it. It's kind of quiet right now. Hopefully, it stays that way. Sometimes when I tell you guys about the background noise, you guys tell me you can't hear anything, so that's great. And also, I've adjusted my volume as well to try and help it. But it is what it is. So if you guys hear it, like I said, bear with me. Uh, but yeah, so I want to be consistent on this, right? And I want to be honest about it. So when I talk about things, I tend to switch gears, right? When it comes to Xbox, right? Because I can look at it from a fan perspective, even a fanboy perspective. As a hardcore Xbox fan, Xbotian is like we like to call ourselves and stuff like that. But there's also a proponent of it where I look at it kind of realistically, because you gotta have perspective. Right? That's something that I talk about. Other guys on in the Xbox circle I hang out with talk about because it matters. Context matters when it comes to a lot of this stuff. If you don't have that, you're not gonna make it on Team Green. As you guys can see, a lot of people are dropping off. Some of it warranted, some of it not warranted. Look, like I tell you guys, man, I give my perspective on this channel. I'm not here to tell you what to buy, what to play. Um, the discussion here is all my perspective and my opinions, right, as well as the opinions of others who happen to be out here. And I try to respect everybody's opinions. Um, but when it comes to the momentum of Xbox, that's not me saying that the games are bad or the service is bad. In fact, I said in my previous video, if you actually follow the advice that I give you guys, where you just follow Phil Spencer, if you just stay in your ecosystem and play your games, especially if you just focus on the ecosystem and the games, you'll realize this is probably the one of the best years that Microsoft has had in a long time, or at least the beginning of 2024. And if you look at the roadmap, man, it's going to bleed into the entirety of this year. Right? So if you shut yourself off to the negativity, if you shut yourself off to the whole four games going over to PlayStation, which again I don't agree with, But if you just put that in perspective or put it off to the side or whatever you need to do, stick it in your box somewhere and just enjoy your games, man. You will find that Xbox is second to none right now. I know a lot of people are Nintendo fans, and they'll play some Nintendo for the various things that they do. Nintendo has their own roadmap of what they want to do, which is fine with me because I don't have a, I'm not invested in Nintendo. There's a lot of things going on with PlayStation right now. Since I don't care about PlayStation, I don't focus it. Again, the only reason why I focus on PlayStation is when these dudes come to our side. But as you can tell, it's been a little bit more quiet. I mean, you have the usual suspects out there trying to drum up drama and stuff like that. The problem with that is Microsoft and Xbox has basically killed that, right? They basically killed that narrative of what they're doing, right? And so it becomes a Sony fanboy thing versus what Phil Spencer's doing. And of course, Xbox guys are commenting. Everybody has their opinion. But at the end of the day, man, what's going to end up happening is that who wins, what narrative wins, and who wins out. And I'll bet on the $3 trillion company. Right. And even if you can't do that, dude, like I know a lot of us are in the console war stuff. It is a reality, right? I've said that for years. This is why I participate. Um, but I mean, Microsoft is basically flipping the script. And how and nobody knows exactly how they're going to do this, right? We're here speculating. I think I had Dea on like a couple weeks ago, about a week ago. She gave her opinion, which gave me a little bit more perspective on everything that's going on. And I'm kind of rolling down that road. There's still some stuff I put out on my videos, man. I'm not saying that I'm changing my mind on that stuff. I'm trying to look at it from all angles, right? And it's hard to say because again, Microsoft does not share anything with us. Anyway, I don't want to get sidetracked with the Xbox stuff. I'm just putting it out there because I know you guys are questioning, and it kind of leads into some of the stuff that I want to talk about with the podcast, specifically Marvel Disney. This podcast is not going to be like a. Oh, hold on, guys. I lost connection. Hopefully that didn't affect my screen. What's going on? Okay. My screen just went black. Hey, what's up, guys? If you're joining me, sorry. This kind of leads into what I want to talk about my podcast and tell you what it's all about. So maybe it's good that I go solo today. This podcast is not going to be one of those podcasts where I'm just going to try and bring down Disney or try and bring down Marvel or try and bring down any other company or whatever just to get clicks, just to get views, man. Just like what I do with Xbox. What I'm doing with this podcast is we're going to talk about things honestly and clearly. Now that doesn't mean I'm not going to have a negative bent on it. I'm going to give my opinion, man. It's going to be an honest opinion, and people that come on here might agree, might disagree. Because I get a lot of flack online, dude, on social media, especially when I talk about Marvel and Disney, because everybody thinks I just absolutely hate them, right? And I don't. I actually don't. I hate what they're doing. Right? I think what they're doing is wrong. I think it's wrong thing, wrong direction. A lot of these guys are not from the culture of Marvel or Disney. I have the unique perspective of being within both, right? I've always been a huge Disney fan. I've always been a huge fan of Walt Disney, the man, basically because of what he built and how he did it. And he's a visionary. He's a dreamer. I've told you guys on this podcast. This is why I tend to gravitate towards people like that. And he's definitely one of the biggest visionaries of our generation. So I've got to see Disney grow, right, and become the juggernaut that it's become, right. And it saddens me that it's in the state that it is right now, and that's why I speak on it. It's not to bring it down, because I don't have to bring it down. Because if we're being honest, dude, even if you're a Disney fan, you know that Disney is down, right? The Disney that you watch today, the Disney that is being run by some of these people is not the Disney that we grew up with, and it's not the Disney. Um, it's not the Disney brand that Walt would like. And then and even online, I have people push back on me. They're usually on the left of politics or they're activist types, and they're saying, things need to change, stuff needs to change. I'm like, look, you build a brand and you betray that brand, you're gonna lose consumers, you're gonna lose fans, right? Whether the people that are running Disney now are actually people that are anti-Disney, if I'm being honest, right? Because the Disney brand is family oriented. The Disney brand is about entertainment first and foremost. The Disney brand is about the magic, dude. That's why it's called the Magic Kingdom, right? What Walt Disney wanted to bring to people, right, is the illusion, right, and having people believe in that illusion. And I don't mean illusion in a bad way, like deceptive. I mean illusion as in fantasy. The word I like to use a lot on on my podcast is wonderment. Right. I remember being a young kid, and then the Wonderful World of Walt Disney would come on TV, and then they have these shows that would come on, and you'd just be totally entertained and enthralled by it because it was something new, something fantastical, something that was different for its time, right? And of course, I was a kid when this all of this stuff was happening, so I have a connection that way, similar to the story I told about my connection to Star Wars because it has to do with my dad. And when you have a deep connection with these type of brands, right? It's important to have perspective, right? But on the flip side, dude, you have to be honest. And right now, Disney is in deep trouble with what they're doing. I don't think they're going to turn at all. I was holding out hope for as long as even last year, the middle of last year, even of all the stuff that they were doing that were warning signs. And then there's a lot of people that I follow that had given up the ghost like 2 years prior or a year before me, But I still was hung on to that single thread, man, that they could turn it around because I felt they could. Because Disney, if you guys don't know the history of Disney, Disney has been up and down many a times, right? It's like a cycle almost for them. In fact, it's almost like a phoenix, right? They'll have these big highs and grow, and then somebody will come along and do something stupid, or they'll get greedy, or there'll be that evil empire, right? When I was growing up in the state of Florida, that they earned that moniker, the Mousetrap. And they would do stuff like that, right? But what would happen is they would always course correct because at the end of the day, they believed in the vision of Walt Disney. Um, they definitely believed in the business of Disney. And when the markets would go bad for them, then they would course correct, right? Unfortunately, for a lot of us Disney fans, or some of you guys still holding on hope, man, I'm not trying to bring you down. I'm just going to be honest. Like I said, we keep it 100 on this podcast, man. That is not the Disney of today. The Disney of today is ideologically driven. I have arguments with people on the right side of politics with this, conservative brothers and sisters, even to some extent. Just for the simple fact that I have to let you guys know, man, it's because they think what it is that because they have that hope that it'll course correct because it's just they're just doing it to appeal to a current generation, appeal to modernity, appeal to woke ideology, which of course is burning down in flames. So that was again that was not the right move to make, right? Because some of these dudes they do think this way, right, within the industry that the next generation coming up would be a little bit more on the left or liberal or have a lot more progressive views. Um, and as we can see, that is not working out the way that they thought it was. And that's an echo chamber thing, right? A lot of these guys are in their own little echo chambers and they can't see outside. It's just like if you follow politics for a lot of people, remember the 2016 election, how all these pundits and newscasters. This is not to promote politics. I'm just using this as an example, guys. Right? A lot of people didn't pick Donald Trump to win, and then he did. And I'm not trying to toot my own horn, but at the time, I was taking classes, and I had to produce a thing in my class, and I picked him to win. Because the bottom line is, a lot of people when you lose sight of reality, right? And you don't want to deal with the realism of everything that's going on the street level, right? This what tends to happen, right? So you have a lot of people that think Disney's going to go a certain way, but they can't because the main focus of Disney right now is all ideologically driven. So why am I doing this on the channel now? Well, I've always done stuff like this on my channel. It's just been hard because number one, there's a lot of people that do this that I think are way better than what I do. And the same thing with Xbox and why I do the videos I do is it's more on the principle of it, right? And if I have something to say, it's basically my diary. So I have a knowledge about these kind of things, and I do have a connection with it, especially. But more importantly, dude, it bothers me. Right? That's why my channel is all about ranting, and this is why you haven't seen me do a lot of the Xbox stuff anymore because Xbox has actually changed their battlefield. They've actually changed the industry with the stuff that they're doing. It took me a little while to I saw it. It took me a little while to deal with my own things about what Xbox was doing. right? If I'm being honest, but moving forward, we'll deal with that. But in the case of Disney, it's always been like this for me. Right. All right, this will bleed into Marvel and Star Wars too, guys, because that's another problem. But when I try and tell people now, and I get into debates and arguments with them, is that they feel that this is just them being stupid, and I'm trying to tell them, and I've been trying to tell them for years, no, you're dealing with ideology. And again, why I do these videos now, why I'm bringing this up now, because it matters to me, because now it's becoming seen by the general population or the normies, right? They're beginning to realize stuff that I know I've been saying, and there's a bunch of other people saying it, guys. I'm just not sitting here trying to toot my own horn, but what I'm saying is I could see this like years ago, right? And when you're dealing with ideology, that's a whole nother beast. It's almost like religion, right? It has the tenets, ideology, especially when it comes from a secular viewpoint. It has all the tenets of religion, even though they wouldn't want to say that. In fact, a lot of these guys will talk about religion in those terms. It's a cult. These guys are brainwashed. These guys are sheep and stuff like that. And it's funny to me because they're exactly that way, but they can't see it themselves, right? And that's why I call these guys ideological. And I'm doing this video now because, again, we did a little podcast on Sweet Baby Inc., right? And you probably think, okay, what does Sweet Baby Inc. have to do? I'm pretty sure you guys are tired of hearing it because it's all over the place, but you guys need to hear this, right? Because if you guys are a fan of this stuff, if you're fandom, right, and I mean like true fandom, right? It's not like what Microsoft, if a lot of you guys are Xbox guys, like a lot of like Hebot, Sega Man, Dea, and all these, everybody's been saying like there's a business proponent to why Microsoft is doing what they're doing with bringing the games over, right? Kind of like the Microsoft corporate versus the Xbox team, that kind of stuff. There's that component that's there, and it all boils down to me, like I said in the last video, culture, right? You can run. I'm a numbers guy too. You can run all the numbers and stuff, come up with all these plans. The problem with the Microsoft side is that they don't know the Xbox side in the sense of the culture, like the actual fans, right? And it's kind of hurting Microsoft in this way because the fans are the ones that, like I said, the fans drive the momentum. And going into 2024, Xbox had a huge momentum, right? Going into 2024, and you can actually feel it's palpable. And I'm not saying this because other people are saying this, dude. You can feel it, dude. A lot of us can. And if we're being honest, we're going to talk about it, right? Well, the same can be said about Disney. Right? I am always negative when it comes to stuff. And again, just to make a point, I'm not negative for the sake of being negative. I'm negative because I love this stuff so much. I know that sounds weird, but that's the reality of it. And that's why I get accused online of being like an undercover DC fanboy or undercover, like I just, Star Trekkie who hates Star Wars. When you deal with a lot of nerds and stuff like that, they don't understand the mentality. But I know I love this stuff so much that it's hard to watch it crumble and fall in the way that it has over these last several years, right? Like when Disney purchased Marvel and then or Star Wars and then they got Marvel, I had a more pragmatic. I was hopeful. I always say I was hopeful, right? Because I know because I'm a Disney fan, I know the branding and the power of Disney, right? And that. That's something Star Wars and especially Marvel at the time. A lot of you guys forget, dude. Marvel was not. It drives me nuts, man. When I talk to these people, man, they just think of Marvel at the end of Phase 3, and you guys totally forget about Marvel Phases 1. They almost didn't cut that mustard, man. Iron Man was a big success. Incredible Hulk was okay, because it was attached to him. It was at Paramount. Thor, though I love the first Thor, is probably my favorite Thor movie. If I'm being honest, right? But I mean, that was not. That was okay, right? I mean, they did what they did. I mean, again, I loved it because I love the Thor comic book. I'm a Marvel fan, and even Captain America, man. So some of you guys are forgetting about that. It's easy to look back now and fondness and see how good these movies are, and it's great that time has proven, right, that there was a lot more to these movies than what people thought it was. But it wasn't. If we're being honest, man, it wasn't until the first Avengers movie when that hit. That people begin to that it started to make its put down its like they could say, look, dude, I've arrived, right? And then Winter Soldier was the next catalyst for them, where they were getting the critics and Hollywood involved. And then what happened was the brand was growing so big and so fast. If you guys remember, man, people were attacking the Avengers, and who's that boy, man? I forget his name. He played Nick Fury. Samuel Jackson, right? He basically went in the media and told, "Hey, man, go handle these stuff." And then that was the beginning, man, of the of the MCU fan, and by MCU fan I mean Marvel Cinematic fan, Universe fan, right? And these dudes went out and defended the brand, and then there was a big shift. And all of these streamers online, and in the nerdosphere I could understand, but then it just became a big thing for people to comment. And once you got that grasp, once you get a hold of that audience, dude, it's over. They become bulletproof, and that's what happened. So much so that I would actually argue, and people like myself who grew up with the comics. So if I would say something like the Moon Knight show, for example, totally boring. They had some great ideas with what they wanted to do. Most of that comic came from the modern Moon Knight, which I didn't really get into. Right, I thought the premise and some of the stuff that they did was pretty smart. But overall, it wasn't the traditional Moon Knight that I liked. And no hate, dude. It's just like I just walk away from it, right? But you have that type of thing. So when I would make comments about certain things, then you end up fighting with these people. But it's easy to beat them because they don't know what they're talking about, right? Guardians of the Galaxy for me was one of the Guardians of the Galaxy was another milestone for me, right? And so in building the trust and building the fan base and building the ability to do the stupid stuff that they do now, and people just lapped it up. So for Guardians of the Galaxy, I remember when that came out, and a lot of people started talking about it. And they have absolutely no idea what they're talking about. And that was kind of a red flag for me because I sat there and listened to these people. I was like, dude, you guys never read the comic books. You guys are totally wrong on all this kind of stuff. And they were getting checked, dude. And that's one of the few times that the fandom checked the media, and the media had to kind of backtrack because they were talking basically out their ass because they don't know a lot of these comic books. One of the things that I was wrong about when it came to Marvel, because when they picked Guardians of the Galaxy, I was like, what are they thinking? Why would they do Guardians of the Galaxy? Nobody read that comic book. And that was a personal slight for me because I was one of the few people that I knew that read that comic book. And even when I was growing up with other hardcore comic book guys, I'm like, dude, what are you doing? You should be reading this. You should be reading that. I'm like, nah, I like this. And that's how you get your bona fides, man, when it comes to comic books within the actual comic book culture. Right? Yeah, so that was another milestone for them, dude. And it took those couple steps for them to build that brand loyalty, to get some credibility, right? To get them to hit their stride, and then give them a little bit of capital, man, when it came to making movies, dude. And then they became a juggernaut over time. It's funny. I was watching to kind of prepare for this. I was looking at stuff online, and I found an old video for the Avengers Infinity War and Avengers Endgame. Mostly the Infinity War movie reactions, and I went back to watching, and I think it connected because as you guys know on social media, I've been sharing a lot of stuff about China and what's happening with their economy, and then so I guess that's why one of these videos popped that I watched. I think it was like 9-10 years ago. Well, it had to be 10 years ago because of Avengers, and the video was basically a lot of Chinese Marvel fans and their reactions, which I shared a long time ago. So I popped up and I watched it, dude, and I'm glad I did because it reminded me of how palpable the excitement was in the room when Marvel was putting out a movie, and that is all gone. All of that stuff is gone right now, and they had such a big following in China. In fact, what Disney was trying to do is they were trying to sell Star Wars and Marvel, and they're really trying to push Star Wars, but Chinese fans, the audience, the Chinese culture in general couldn't grasp onto it, but they definitely grasped onto Marvel, especially the younger generation of that time, right? Because as you guys know, China's built an economy over the last 4 or 5 decades that's been an absolute monster. And so when Avengers came out, it's just the perfect timing of everything, right? They were very and in fact, I remember people making videos talking about how much they changed, because if you saw Olympics of old and a Chinese athlete would lose, they'd be very mad and they would protest, sit there in silence and stuff like that. And then generations removed, right? And then you see some of these athletes lose and they'd be fine and they'd be smiling, some of them happy, taking pictures. And what was happening because of that, you could see that China's culture was changing, right? And so when Marvel came in, it was just a perfect storm for Marvel, and they built a fan base over there. And if you watch that video, man, you can see the excitement. To me, they were more excited than a lot of the people in the West when it came, or right up there with them. And I looked at that, and I remember, and I watched it. I watched it a couple times, guys, because I knew I was going to do this podcast this weekend, and it blew my mind because it just reminded me of like the power that they wielded no less than 10 years ago. The political capital they built within Hollywood, right? Because a lot of people was, especially in upper Hollywood, like the elitist Hollywood, right? They don't like these type of movies, right, at all. And then even the major publications was talking them down, right? This is not art. This is not movie. This is not any of that kind of stuff. And then Marvel made it, right? Which is even bittersweet for me because they actually took the time to create and build characters. Not perfect, right? But then I gotta check my own bias, right? Because you guys know I come from the comic book aspect of stuff, right? So they've taken out liberties with a lot of stuff. There's storylines I think they should have went down. There's characters that they flubbed, right, and stuff like that. But overall, right, my expectations for them were so low. And overall, maybe that's what helped me too. That overall, I thought, wow, this is great. And then they got to a point where they found themselves. And this is for me where the comic book stuff kind of fed into the background, and then the movie part of me took over. Like I tell you guys, man, I'm in pop culture in all aspects across all genres. This is how I can watch DC movies and not get mad, like how DC fans, you hear your rock and you hear Unlimited Productions talk about this, right? They're huge DC fans. Like I don't have the same squabbles as they have with these brands because I'm not a fan, right? So when I'm watching Shazam, the reason why I watched Captain Marvel before he was called Shazam, right? He's called Captain Marvel, and this just irks me that they call him Shazam because when I was younger, I would call him Shazam, and my friends would correct me all the time, especially my DC fans. They go, no, dude, it's not Shazam, it's Captain Marvel. Shazam is what he says when he turns into Captain Marvel. When Billy Batson turns into Captain Marvel, and then they would go to the whole spiel. Shazam, what Shazam stands for, Solomon, wisdom of Solomon. They go down this whole trope about the character. I have to deal with that with these dudes all the time. To the point where I finally, like, they would do that so much. You get so tired of hearing that stuff. Like, okay, so now I realize it's Captain Marvel. Right? You get browbeaten into to saying it correctly. Okay, fine, boom, good. And then later on, dude, they changed it to Shazam, and that kind of made me mad. But when I watched that movie, and then it's a superhero movie, and I do like Captain Marvel. It's one of my favorite DC heroes. And I'm like that, dude. I like the offbeat people, the other stuff. Plus, I like the history between DC and I forget the name of the comic book. Atlas, was it Atlas Comics? There's a history about that I find interesting. That's what I mean about being the culture of comic books. It's not just about reading comics. It's about knowing the artists, knowing the writers, knowing the background, finding out all these stories. Some of them you probably want to be. I've shared this story about Doctor Strange and finding out that all those dudes was hopped up on drugs. That's how they were able to make the comic book. Anyway, that's where their creativity came from. So sometimes you go down that rabbit, as the old saying says, holds true to this day. Ignorance is bliss. You end up going down some of these rabbit holes. You might see a darker side of the comic book industry. Fine, I can handle it. But when the story of when they take liberties or they do stuff different that I don't care for, again, I'm not a DC fan on that level. And number two, dude, I like Zachary Levi. That's one of the main reasons why I watched the movie, right? Because Zachary Levi was in it. If you guys don't know who Zachary Levi is, he did one of my favorite shows of all time called Chuck. I love that show, man. Still to this day, I own the entire series on digital, and even to this day, I'll go back and watch it, especially in this woke era of entertainment, which produces nothing but crap, which is a waste of time to watch, right? And an industry that doesn't understand what they're made for, which is entertainment. It's easy for somebody like me to go back and watch Chuck over and over again. And I watch it all different kind of ways. I just don't watch it I don't have to watch it like season by season, episode by episode, even though I do that, right? It's just like I can think of one of my favorite Chuck episodes. It's a Friday night, right? Like my daughter had her friends over, dude. They were playing D&D. They were like eating pizza, all this crap. I don't want to be around all that, right? And they don't want me to be around either. That's great. Go into the room, right? I throw on my anime, right? Or I'll just pull up an old episode of one of these TV shows that I like and I watch it. Or then I go on Netflix, like I tell you guys all the time, I watch a lot of K-dramas, stuff like that. So there's stuff that I can find, right, to circumnavigate, like I said in my last video, to circumnavigate these woke waters, as I like to call it, right? Because look, dude, at the end of the day, man, with all the equity and diversity, dude, I'm from Hawaii, guys, dude. We've been dealing with this for years. Right? I can speak on this stuff. Hawaii has always been one of the most diverse states, right? But what a lot of people don't realize, like if you're from a state like if you're from a Midwest or southern state, and I know that's changing, but if you come some like I grew up in Florida actually, guys, and then what happens is that when I went there, dude, there was not that much diversity, right? But then I lived in Central Florida, so it was diverse than most other parts of the state, right? And I know it's changed now, right? So, but coming from Hawaii, dude, it's always been diverse. So I think we're like man, we're decades ahead of every other state in the U.S., man, where people complain about, oh, it's not diverse enough, there's not enough minorities there and stuff like that. There's reasons for that, right? Because the assumption is that when it comes to something not being diverse, it's like that whatever the population that's the majority, and that state doesn't want the diversity. When a lot of times too, what it is that you might be the minority going to that state, and you might not want to be there either, right? Because it's not, it doesn't fit your narrative of how you want to live your life. You know, Hawaii is one of the places, like, they call it paradise, right? We got beaches, nice weather. There's a lot of reasons why people would want to live here. One of the main reasons was the culture. Right? We got something what they call aloha spirit here in Hawaii, and a lot of people that like that, the easygoing style, the niceness of the people, right? People friendly and stuff like that. So people would move here for that kind of stuff, right? But what's happened over the years, and as generations pass, it's lost that because the actual original people that grew up here, or the original plantation people that came here generations ago, right? They start mixing, and everything becomes more diverse. That it becomes bland, right? And you won't hear people talk about this kind of stuff in all of these, or at least I don't hear it. Right? There's good and bad with everything, guys. I'm a native person of these islands, and my culture is basically gone. There's people trying to fight to keep it around, but it's not. It's going to disappear. And this is one of the things when you have a diverse culture, man. You're gonna have diversity in there. And I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying, right? Let's be realistic about it, right? You have to, it becomes so diverse that it loses its flavor. Is what I'm trying to say. Right? When I was growing up, of course, the melting pot thing was a big thing, right? So that you could have amalgamation of things within the pot that forms like a more perfect stew, right, for more or less of the world, right? But there's also things that like the native culture here is dying. So from a general perspective, right? Just I'm not trying to hype on a whole racial thing, but on a general perspective, dude, if you come to Hawaii, that's why a lot of people come to Hawaii now, and they're like, oh, dude, it's not like what they thought it was going to be, right? Because a lot of Hawaii, especially on Oahu, is just like the mainland. We have the same restaurants now. We're getting more of the same restaurants. We're getting, it's urban, right? It's very populated. I'm lucky because I live in an area that people didn't want to build here, and so what it did was it allowed um, the community I live in to be built. And so I have the because the area and people, it's just fortunate, right? And plus, Hawaii's not, it's more of a poor financial thing when it comes to stuff here. It's not like in other areas where there's crime and stuff like that. But what it is that we're able to kind of forge out a whole new community in this area where I live, and I have the best of both worlds, right? I'm not totally in an urban area, but I'm not totally out in the country in the boonies somewhere. We don't have running water or plumbing, right? But it's a valley, right? And it's a nice quaint valley that I live in that makes you feel like you're away from everything. But as soon as you take two turns and hit the main road, boom, you're in urban sprawl, right? So why do I bring that up, and how does it apply to the whole thing I'm talking about with Marvel and Disney for this for that? It's because the reality is that's what's going to happen to your brand, right? And then what also is going to happen is you're going to have people with like I was starting off before I got off on this tangent was ideologically, man. Disney is from every level is inundated with people that have that type of woke mindset, that DEI mindset. This is why they won't be able to change. That's the reality of it. This is why I kind of had to give up hope on Star Wars, even though I was holding on by a thread, especially when the Mandalorian released. But when they started doing stuff like firing Gina Carano, that was a big thing for me, right? Because they basically canceled her because she had wrong think. And I found it, and I didn't like that because they accused her of certain things that I am, right? Like politically, the aisle that I'm on and stuff like that. And because I am that way, I can recognize people that are like that. Or when people are not like that, or when people are faking it, right? You have a lot of these grifters and stuff coming on, and they're trying to be conservative or trying to be on the right side of politics, and they're not. I can tell they're not, right? Because they don't have the ideals and the principles, because it's all about the principles of it, right? Some of these guys that are coming over to the right side of politics, they're coming over because it's a safe space for them. Because on their side, where they used to be, was usually on the left or they're liberal, right? They can't handle that anymore because they had wrong think themselves. Like they might have agreed with gay marriage or gay rights, but they don't agree with trans people reading storybooks to kids. trying to convert them, right? And once they stepped off that reservation, bam, they got hammered. So now they're on this side, right? So there's a lot of people that are coming over that are not politically charged, and one of those people is Gina Carano. She might have some type of leanings on politics a certain way, but I never picked that up from her. I just liked her as a UFC fighter, man. I've been watching the UFC since its inception. If you guys remember UFC, that first time out, dude, that was brutal. Dude, outside you couldn't hit the groin, no strikes to the throat, and you couldn't gouge. Those are the only three rules, man. That's why they were so bloody. Right? It took Dana White coming in and actually cleaning that stuff up and making it professional. Right? And he was, dude, people were stepping all over that dude. Right? And he said it, dude. He said he was going to be more popular than boxing, and here we are. Right? And he made it, but he made it reputable. And I remember Gina was the face, and the reason I gravitated for her because you normally don't see females in that space, and then most females in that space, it's really not as intense as the men. I'm not saying they're bad. I'm just saying, you know what I mean. And she's one of the first people I saw, dude. I was like, dude, not only she's an attractive woman, physically attractive, dude. She has the bona fides, man, to fight. Within her weight class and above, man. And she was basically the face. It's kind of like George St. Pierre became the face on the men's side. When he was in, they had an actual superstar. They had their Jordan. I'm not comparing it to Jordan. I'm just saying, right, for the sport, right? And that's how the UFC's been ever since. Then you had Ronda Rousey, and then people. I forgot the girl Pena, I think is her name, or I forgot the girl she's from Brazil or Venezuela. She's a beast, right? So what happens is, right, because of you started off with Gina, and then people get bigger, better. It grows, right? You see that with sports, right? That's how sports become successful, right? They grow and then they expand, and then you see different people coming in from all walks of life, and then it's usually bigger, better, faster, right? It should constantly improve to the point where you had a phenom like BJ Penn, who came in there, and now you get all kind of people that are of his level. I mean, I am saying that because BJ is unique. Trust me, even for a local boy, that dude's unique, good guy. But I mean, you have a lot of people of that skill set now, right? Because you have to be multifaceted, man. Because a lot of times the billing for UFC in the beginning was certain arts versus other arts, like who would win, right? Like one of the greatest matches was the dude Yarbrough, who's a sumo. He classified as sumo, and then you had I forgot the other guy, Ken somebody, but he's a Kempo striker, and that was like the one I wanted to see, man, because I know about Kempo, right? And so Kempo is all about striking, and you have a guy like Martin Yarbrough, they call him, man. He's a big dude, man, big brother, right? These are all of I think he was like 700 pounds. Then he can move, dude. I mean, he wasn't the fastest guy around, but I mean, you can sleep on the dude, and all it would take is for him to get you on the ground, right? And what the Kempo dude do is like, he kind of proved like their striking power. But it was kind of funny though, like he struck him into submission basically, but he ended up breaking his hand too, right? So that was a good, that kind of stuff. But what ended up happening is all these jiu-jitsu guys started winning because once he got on the ground, right, people didn't have defense and stuff like that, and people had to change. And that's what you got the UFC have now. So why did I go down that long road? Right? Sorry. But getting back to Gina, when I saw her didn't do that to her, I knew I was already knowing like it's infested within that company. They would have to literally, I'm talking about wokeness. So they would literally have to fire from the top up, from the top down, basically, starting with Iger all the way down through all the middle, not just the higher ups, but management, middle management, staff, right? There's all kind of stories that came out of the Civil War and Star Wars, right? Because you have a lot of these people who are woke, man. They don't care about the brand, they care about the ideology, and it shows, man. This is why I don't. People like, oh, just give it a chance, or you're reading too much of it. I'm not reading anything of it, dude. I don't like the woke stuff. That's just one aspect, dude. That wokeness. These guys can't write. Whether they got the job because of diversity, hire, or whatever you want to call it, man. At the end of the day, I don't care what your race is, man. If you can't write a good story or you can't create a good, interesting character, that's on you. That's the reality of it, dude. And do I sit there and trudge through something like Ahsoka? And that was hard for me, man, because Ahsoka, I thought the casting looked solid. There's actresses in there that I absolutely love and wanted to see, and actors, right? There was people in there that I wanted to watch, man. But then the writing and the production doesn't do them any justice, right? And that's the sad thing. This is one of the things I hate about Disney right now, dude. Right now, at the Acolyte, the trailer dropped, and if I'm being honest, if you look at the trailer as it is, right, it looks pretty good, in my opinion. But because I've watched trailers for years, man, I know that don't really mean amount to a hill of beans, right? Because what happens is a trailer can look great, it can get you pumped and excited, but I'm so off of Disney right now that's not going to work with me. And and they're pulling these tropes where they're bringing the popular actors and actresses in, right? Because the guy who's actually playing the main Jedi in the beginning, when you have the youngling sitting there, and I'm not gonna say his name because I'm gonna jack it up. Plus, I might confuse him with somebody else. Korean names for me are hard because they have a certain cadence, and they're definitely a certain the naming component is the thing that throws me off. So they have him in the trailer, and if you don't know who he is, and if you recognize him, you might recognize him from Squid Game, right? Because and this dude's an actor in South Korea. I thought it was funny because he interviewed, and the person here didn't know who he was, and they were like, oh, like this dude's a scrub, and he got kind of offended. I don't blame him because in South Korea, he's a great actor. I just say that. But a lot of people will recognize this dude from Squid Game. He was like the main protagonist in that movie, and he was an excellent protagonist, right? And that props to his acting prowess, right? Of course, he's from South Korea. Korean is his first language, so of course his English. I was surprised in the trailer how good it was. I'm not saying that like the way that they made it. Like I definitely had the flow for it, but I hate that Disney's doing that, man. I would tell a lot of these guys because a lot of South Korean actors are coming over, and because it's Disney, they want to participate in it. But I'm like, dude, don't do it, man. You wait for another role, wait for another studio, man. You guys have the ability and the talent and the fan base right now that you could skyrocket yourselves as an actual player within the Hollywood community, right? Amongst the artists and actors and stuff like that. So they bring these guys over because they're going to try and draw from that audience. But man, I don't trust Disney's writing, how they're presenting them. I understand, like even in the trailer, it looks like he's supposed to be like a Jedi Master, trying to present him in a certain way, but the dialogue is just way too slow. You can tell these dudes never really watched old kung fu movies or old samurai movies or any type of Asian type of media. You know what I'm saying? So except for maybe Squid Game. So I see this dude on there and I feel bad for him because I'm like, dude, I don't. That sucks, dude, because you're way more than this. And that's what I mean. I find myself have more at odds with the actual people producing the content than the actual people acting in it. I feel for them, dude. I mean, it's just like, and they have good ideas on some of this stuff, right? But they can't follow through in it. And one of the reasons they can't do that, man, is because their whole ideology is they put all their ideology. That's the thing at the forefront. Instead of making it, how can I make this character unique? How can I make him different? Or their answer is, oh, I'll make him unique. He's gay. Or I'll make him unique. He hates Trump. Or which like they'll do stuff like that. Like you can see what they're going with it, which knocks you to regardless if you like politics or not, dude. It just takes you out of it. I see people say it all the time. It's like, wow, dude, why would they do that? I mean, it doesn't make any sense, right? Or it just took me out of the thing, right? I know because I like the world building aspect, the mythology of stuff, right? Like right now, I'm watching a couple animes, man, that got me locked in because the character in the story and the actions off the charts, man. But they take the time to kind of explain things and build the world around it, and then build up the supporting characters to help strengthen the main character and the main story and the world in general. It's like it's like this soup. It's like if you go to get ramen noodles, man, and then it's just like this. It's not just the noodles, dude. It's the broth, it's the vegetables they put in, it's the spicing, right? It's all the little things, right, that they put in there to make it stand out, to make this perfect soup. But it's still a ramen dish. You know what I'm saying? Or better yet, if you guys watch WWE, if you guys watch wrestling like I have, dude, some of the best wrestlers are the heels, right? The people that what they say, putting someone over, right? Being the person, and comic books used to do that too, right? You needed a good, you have the potential, you needed a good. I like to use the term straight man, but that's the wrong one to use. But you need that character in there that's gonna not totally shine on the person. It's basically like it'll give you another angle of the superhero or the main character, right? That's why I ended up loving Bret Hart, dude. I hated Bret Hart for the longest time. I hated the Hart Foundation because I hate them out to the south. And I mean, just as a wrestling fan, right? They're loud, they're obnoxious, they're the bad guys, they're the heels. But after you watch Bret Hart for so long, and then you realize, like the excellence of execution. That's why I like to use that all the time, because he is consummate wrestler, dude. And then he would not only put himself and make himself accountable for what he was doing in the ring, dude. He would also help the other person look better than what they actually were. One of the best things that he does that I love is when somebody whips him into the corner turnbuckle, and he just takes that full on chest hit and then just rolls back, right? Or like how people sell the stunner and stuff like. So what you're doing is you're building the other character by doing that, but you're also elevating the match, which in turn elevates wrestling in general. I'm going on all kind of tangents. Right. So when I saw the Gina Carano thing, getting back to that, and then other stuff they were doing, right? Because the natural, if Disney wanted to actually change and make Star Wars better, they should have went with our boy that did Iron Man. Let me see, John. Gosh, why am I blanking today, guys? Sorry. Get this man because I want to get his. Because I love this dude. Not just even before he was even before he was a director and he produces on stuff now, he was an actor, dude. He's in some of my, and he had like little roles too and stuff like that. But he's just a dude that stood out to me, man. I always liked him. There's that movie with Keanu Reeves, the one where those guys got drafted because all the football players went on strike, right? Replaceables or replacements, replacements. And Keanu Reeves was a star, but John, dude, I can't think of his name. Let me look it up, man, because I gotta give this guy's props. Let me see, dude. I gotta give my boy props. Favreau. Jeez, I'm old. But John Favreau, man, he played like this cop or SWAT team dude right there that was nuts. And he was like one of my favorite. And he was in this movie called PCU, which I like. And I watched it because of Jeremy Piven. I liked Jeremy Piven at the time. I thought he was a funny guy. He had a really dry sense of humor and great comedic timing. It's one of the reasons why I like Vince Vaughn. And so he was in that show PCU, and he just stood out to me. That's Hollywood of old, man. You do these movies and stuff like that, and then somebody in the background ends up coming to the foreground, and then you find out, if you're hardcore watching movies and stuff, this is how you would know who was up and coming and who wasn't. And it was great to follow that kind of stuff, man. Hollywood's a dumpster fire right now, dude. I mean, they've lost sight of what they are, basically like what Disney's done with Star Wars, to entertain, right? To create the fantastical, right? And you can have your messaging in there, dude. But like I said, the messaging overrides anything. But I gave up hope once they didn't go with Jon Favreau. I knew because there was stuff going on in the background. Again, I say it all the time. That was more interesting than anything that was put on Disney Plus with their shows, Mandalorian aside. But you saw that a lot of times people fell off with Mandalorian 3, man, because that's the byproduct of what was going on between Lucasfilms and what was going on between Jon Favreau and what they were trying to bring. And I'm not saying Jon Favreau was trying to take over any kind of stuff, but he was trying to. He's a fan, and he was trying to please the fans. And then you have Kathleen Kennedy on the side who just wants to have power and control. And those things are not going to mix. So Kathleen Kennedy and their crew are not. If you guys didn't hear the news, how George Lucas is actually backing Bob Iger now, or said he's backing. There's a lot of rumors going on about that, but the bottom line is that's the direction it looks like Star Wars is going. So I've given up. I've been giving up to the point where like they got some stuff coming on Disney Plus that might be interesting to me as a Disney fan, even, but I'm done. I'm done with that. I get to that point, right? And that's the thing. I know. Hat tip to Nerdrotic, dude. Go watch that guy. You might not agree with some of his takes, man, but he has his fingers on the pulse of what's going on in pop culture. If you're hardcore pop culture like I am, but he basically said that too, right? It's like these dudes. So they're creating all this kind of stuff, man, but they don't understand what they're making. And at the end of the day, like Critical Drinker, also another great guy to watch. He said it's about the message, and it is. That's all they care about. If they make some money along the way, that's awesome. And the sad thing about that, people is like, well, they made this much money. It's like, dude, it's not about the money and successful. It's about money and validation. So if you look deeply into all this DEI stuff, it's very selfish. It's very self-fulfilling, right? These people want to feel good about themselves. I talked about this on my channel, where you have experiences with people who have white guilt, right? I live in Hawaii. I'm Hawaiian. And people come up and say, hey, man, sorry what happened with their land and all this kind of stuff, right? Nothing that you can do about it. Like, just, that doesn't help me either, right? I just tell people, man, just don't be a punk, man. Be a good person. Respect the stuff here as you would any other state, dude. And I'm not saying just because it's Hawaii, but there's people that come here and do stupid stuff, man. Like they break the rules. They don't respect the culture. And again, this is not just about Hawaii. I would beat out anywhere, dude. Like if I go to someplace in the South, they have a certain cadence of the way they do things and stuff like that. I fall in line. That's kind of a military thing with me. Because when I was in the Navy, dude, they would actually talk to, like when I went to San Francisco, there's stuff that I got stationed in Oakland. And so there was stuff that they would tell you about those areas and what to be cognizant of and what not to be. And I'm not just talking about bad areas or stuff like that, but actual cultural norms in there. So you didn't stick out or you didn't offend anybody. I should take that class. Now, granted, I was on our admiral staff, so that was probably I probably got that training more than most because you don't want to make the admiral or the command look bad, right? That's a high profile um, position. Not really my position, but that office. You know, the admiral I worked for ran the entirety of the West Coast. He answered to Makalapa, which is in Pearl Harbor at that time. Right, the military doesn't exist in California anymore because California is a communist, socialist piece of trash state. But anyway, that's just my opinion. Um, but they got rid of all the military in the Bay Area. I know that because I was one of the last people to process there, and it is what it is. But yeah, dude. I mean, it's riddled. That Star Wars is riddled. But that Marvel is even worse now, right? Because what Marvel was doing that Star Wars couldn't do. Star Wars on a more generational side. Marvel was basically their catalyst moving forward, especially with the younger generation of millennials and definitely Gen Z. But they basically pissed that all away. And again, I referenced watching that old videos of how excited people get. Man, there was events. Dude, I remember movie theaters used to do like marathons, right, for the Avengers, right? They had every single Marvel movie. We did it here. We did it here. So we did it here in Hawaii, which is a big thing for me, man. Because when I first moved back here, this stuff wasn't a blip on anybody's map. Hawaii is more of an outdoor culture, man. People like fitness, people like going out surfing, beach. You know, we have sunshine, we have mountains, we have stuff like that that people like to do. But you know, the culture shifted, especially on the popular culture side, and so you know, people was participating in that. And then you know, when you have kids and stuff like that, it became like an event, right? And Disney has just basically pissed that all the way. You know, and it's sad because there was people there that was working there that tried. You know what I mean? They were giving sounding off the alarms. But did Disney listen? No. And then when these people did say something, they were smacked back down. Right. So I can't blame them if they gave up the fight, right? Because you know it is what it is, man. It's this Hollywood in general is just inundated with all these. I'll just be honest with you, dude. Woke evil people, man. Right? These people are. I don't know, man. Most of them I think are demonic. If I'm being honest. Right? This is why I've kind of drawn back away from Hollywood. You know, the veil is off, dude. These dudes participate in stuff that's that's just demonic. I'll just be honest with you. And I've been falling away from Disney for the longest time. You know, a lot of times the older you get, dude, you take things more seriously, right? I can't say conservatively because I've always been a conservative. Because I was raised by my grandmother and I'm a Christian, right? So I've always been on this side. I know, like, there's a lot of stuff where people are talking about being red pilled. Dude, I didn't need to be red pilled. I was already here. It's been interesting to watch people go through their trials and tribulations and journeys. You know, I try and help people as much as I can. That's why I do it. That's why I'm starting to focus on this kind of stuff because again, it's interesting to me. It's something to talk about. On the Xbox side, we'll still do that, but as you can tell on the Xbox side, things are changing in a slightly different way. So that's why I'm kind of diversifying my channel. And this is, like I said, it's interesting to me, man. I see people out there right now asking why. So if you come across this video, I'll tell you guys why it's happening. Right? And it's more than just money. It's more just power. It's more than just fame. It's more about like the old school. Like I like, you know, that's the one thing I do like about Kathleen Kennedy. She has that old school producer side to her, that old Hollywood studio side to her, where she wants to be power and control. Honestly, I feel like she's the only one that's kind of grifting on all this woman power thing. Right? That woman has a chip on her shoulder, man, and you know, she basically took her hate of patriarchy and just shifted it into women power, girl power. You can't teach an old dog new tricks, man. People forget how old this lady is and who she grew up under when it comes to movies and working in the studio system. You know, she came under Steven Spielberg and George Lucas. Right, that's her background, dude, and she is the prototypical person that comes in there without talent and not being a creative, but getting in on the lack of a better word, admin side of things, right, in the studio part. And then but she always wanted to be that way, and a lot of this stems from jealousy. Man. If I can't have the bona fides of these guys, I'll take it, and I'll do it by whatever means necessary. And we all have to suffer, Right, this is the things that people was talking about when Disney bought these properties. Right now, it started off great, and I was for it at the time, but I was also cognizant of the fact that it could go south. Right, like I told you guys with the Microsoft thing, I told you guys with the double-edged sword. When you have Microsoft supporting them, there's good and bad. Right. And I'm saying it's on that level. This Disney, Star Wars, Disney, Marvel is totally shot. So my main point is, if you guys, I'm basically defending myself, because I find myself fighting with people, right? You guys know that I'm a huge Marvel and Disney fan by the fact that I have so much vitriol for them right now, right? I'm that type of person, man. It's like I'm a Steeler fan, dude. I see them doing stupid stuff, dude. It ticks me off, and I'm vocal about it, you know. Like when I talk about other teams, that I don't like, right? It's more from a fan perspective, right? Like you guys know, I'm a Steelers fan. I never liked the Browns. Never liked anybody in their division. I'm not as hardcore as I was back in the day, because football has changed too. It's not as hardcore like that. Never been to Pittsburgh. Never knew anybody from Cleveland. Never knew anybody from Houston, right? But you just didn't like their team. That's just the way it was. Didn't like the Oilers. Didn't like the Bengals. Didn't like the Browns. Never met a person or a fan from those teams, but they're the rivals of the Steelers. That's what I'm talking about. That type of stuff. So when it comes to Disney, when it comes to Star Wars, when it comes to all this stuff, that's the perspective that I come from. So a lot of people's like, oh, you just hate Marvel, and then a lot of these guys, dude, they're not like Marvel fans to me anyway. So like I care, right? Like these guys couldn't tell you a single artist that wrote on one of their favorite books which they never read, right? A lot of these guys are posers. And the thing that irks me about that is, like, I wouldn't care. Like, you don't have to be that way, dude, but don't purport yourself to be. And definitely don't attack me on it, because I will smack you down. A lot of us that come from that old nerd culture, man, put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears into this stuff. I starved myself, man, to own my comic book collection. I just have money, man. I just scrounge up whatever money I can, dude, to keep my subscriptions going. That's why I couldn't keep up with every single thing, man. I'd have to jump around. But the only comic book I kept was of course, not having money, or money was tight, man, was X-Men. I had every X-Men comic from X-Men. I want to say issue 170 or 160, Uncanny X-Men, volume 1. Or would that be volume 2? Because it was X-Men, right? But anyway, Uncanny X-Men 170, 160, 170. I was trying to get to at least 150. On up until, man, I was like the mid 400s. Uncle sold them all, by the way. So, and it wasn't like to get money or anything like that. He just was moving, and I lived somewhere else, and then he's like, "Oh, I sold this stuff." So anyway, it is what it is, man. But it's sad to me, man, because there's so many first appearances. I'm not saying that I would have sold it. In fact, if I would have sold it like in the late 90s going into mid 2000s, dude, you could have made so much money. Was it that time? Yeah, because I know like X-Men comics were selling $50 to $85, depending. Oh, and even more depending on the condition. But because you have the first appearance of Gambit, I had the first appearance of Psylocke, technically. Of course, Cable, Deadpool, all that, man. That was just that time period I was collecting, because I would do all the X titles too. But when I first started off, yeah, dude, when I was in school, it was hard. But I got a job, and I could buy my own stuff. And then it was just getting too expensive, man. It was getting crazy, man. I think the last time was like $325, $375. I think it was when I stopped. Yeah, it was nuts, dude. Now, but the comic book store I went to, man, that guy was cool. Right. So they've been through their ups and downs. So I was kind of a lot more on the positive side when Disney picked them up, because again, the brand power and the money and stuff behind Disney that could really help Marvel at the time. But hindsight 2020, right? And now we see where they are now, and that's what it is when you do stuff like this, man. Like I'm not a big consolidation guy. When I talk about this kind of stuff, guys, I'm just what I am with this kind of stuff is I'm just I'm not against consolidation and stuff like that in the way that other people are. Because I think that this is definitely a generational thing. Like when people talk about Microsoft buying anything, gaming is so big that I don't think they could be a monopoly anyway. As you can see, people are complaining about Xbox now. They're not getting titles, which is weird to me because Xbox has not been getting titles from certain people. And look, at the end of the day, man, a studio or a creator makes their own decision of where they want to put a game or not. Whether you agree with that decision or not that they're doing, right? Like the one guy, I forgot the name of the game, but he's like, oh, we're just gonna put it on. He wants to focus on PC and PlayStation. Now I don't know why he's doing it. I see people speculate about it, right, or surmise about it. Like and the general consensus, because of the way the internet is when it comes to Xbox, is that Xbox sucks and PlayStation is the best and PC is the best, and that's why they're sticking over it. Dude, I'll be honest with you, I could care less where they stick it. If you're a company and you make that decision, as a consumer, I make my own decision, and it doesn't fall in line with just the Xbox thing. It's just me as a consumer, right? Because I am in the Xbox ecosystem. I have Game Pass. I have a bunch of backlog of games. I have a bunch of games that I can play, right? Which is why I can't stand a lot of the people on the Xbox side who cry on social media, right? Because to me, they're ignorant, right? And I say this all the time, instead of focusing on what you instead of focusing on what you don't have, focus on what you got. And that's why I tell you guys all the time, that if you guys just focus on the actual games that you have and the ecosystem that you're in, like the services and all that kind of stuff, dude, you'll be good. Because that's just one game to me, dude. We have so many games that I play. And maybe because I'm more of a gamer than most people, right? And I like variety in my gaming, so maybe that helps me out. The fact that I have a backlog of stuff, dude, I struggle every day. There's not a thing. Like I took a break from gaming just because I have to watch my kids. That's why I'm doing this offbeat thing the way it is now. Um, like I'm gonna have to, like I gotta what time? Yeah, I gotta bounce because I gotta take my son um, to his lessons. But then you have to find time, dude, and you have to enjoy like what you do and what you're doing, right? So it is what it is, man. I mean, I don't know what to tell you guys, man. A lot of you guys just sound like you just don't enjoy gaming at all. So if I were you, dude, I would bounce. I basically I don't have Disney Plus, right? I bounce from a lot of the streaming services actually, and it's nothing. They just don't offer me what I want. Everything I can get right now, I can get on Game Pass, I can get on Crunchyroll, and I can get on Netflix. And I do have a subscription to I forgot what one I got because there's this old show that I like, but I'm gonna cancel that because they're gonna up the thing to like $20. I'm like, nah, no thanks. Right. So you make your choices and stuff like that, but I have a good fit of what I want to do. Right. Because again, right, if you don't like what somebody's doing, dude, you have like if you're a pop culture guy like I am, dude, you're not hurting for content. I understand that I'm older than most. I understand that I have a history with this that most people don't. I have a connection with this kind of stuff that most people don't. So I understand that, it's easier for me in some aspects, right? Like if you're newer to this game, it might be harder for you, right? But I would recommend if you are new to this, dude, you have to expand your horizons. You have to think outside the box. You have to go experience stuff. You have to go find stuff. That's what we did, because we love this stuff so much, man. Like, it's easy for me to just watch something that's outside of the norm. And there's a lot of content. If you do that, dude, you find out that there's so much content out there. And if you open up yourself a little bit, dude, you'll realize how much content there is out there for you to consume, and then you might find something that you actually like. So when you have something that like for me, what's going on with Disney, and how much they just crapped everything down the drain, right? That there's other stuff that you can fall back on, right? So just really quickly in closing, man, I'm just gonna let you guys know. Just because this is what I kind of want to do. If you guys, like I said, are trying to navigate the woke waters, um, the stuff that I like to do, and I kind of did this on the other podcast. I'll make this a regular thing on here. Hopefully, like I'll get better at this, and then I can actually show you some of the stuff I'm talking about because I think it would be cool. Currently on, I have Crunchyroll, a subscription to Crunchyroll. I have a subscription to Netflix, and there is great content on there if you guys want to watch. If you guys are into just watching shows and stuff like that, right? So on Crunchyroll, I'm watching an anime called Solo Leveling, which I highly recommend. It's probably one of the best animes I've seen in a long time. And I'm not saying that the other stuff is trash. I mean, it's just one of these. This is one of the animes right now that I'm watching that has totally sucked me in, based on the premise. And I know it's on a manga, a Korean short story basically, and Korean anime, and it's a manga. And so the um, the premise of it is a lot of what's happening is you have these people called hunters. So the world has changed, of course, right? There's this cataclysmic event, the world has changed, and there's these gates that are open up from another dimension into this world. And what ends up happening is there's people getting born with these abilities, and they're called hunters. And as hunters, they're ranked, which is ironic to me, right? Because when we used to play the old Sega games, right, you used to always trying to get the S ranking. So anyway, but you have to go. These guys, what they do is they go into these dungeons and try and clear the dungeons. So it has that fantasy aspect of it, right? And they try and clear these dungeons because if they don't, there's going to be a dungeon break, and then the creatures within the dungeons can come out into the real world, right? So that's what these hunters do. They go in and they try and stop that from happening. Sometimes it works, sometimes it's not. It doesn't. But that's the journey that they take you on. And the really cool thing I love about the show is that it's not just that. That's just the basic premise of it. But then they have a world that's built around this stuff where things become corporate, right? So a lot of these hunters they belong to guilds, which is kind of a fantasy thing. But the guilds in this, I would liken them more to like sports teams, right? Like they're sponsored in a way, right? It's like of course, because if this was happening in the real world, dude, because there's levels to this and you can't change your levels. That's the premise of the show. It's like you get like a certain ranking, so E is the lowest, all the way up to S, I think is the highest. And so what it is that if you're an S, you're going to be top. You're going to be like LeBron, right? LeBron James in the NBA. And then if you're on the lower end, man, you're probably that like 6th round draft pick that comes out of college, right? It's like that, dude. And so it's almost like a caste system where you can't really change your system. So based on that, and then business gets involved. People are making money off this stuff, right? Because they can sell the stuff and create technology. They can do all this kind of stuff to build brands and stuff like that. So what's happening is that they have these guilds become like corporations, and they start like trying to poach and get like the best thing so they can make money, dude. Because that's what it boils down to. And I don't know what's going on with my stuff. It keeps on dying. And so that's what it is. That's what it is. Right. And I highly recommend it if you guys have Crunchyroll. Because I don't think it's on Netflix, but it's definitely on Crunchyroll. I would recommend the Crunchyroll subscription. They've raised the price of it. And I know Sony's bought them, right? Or no, Sony already owned them. It's they got Funimation. I know some of you got Hang-Ups, so I don't blame you for that, right? And stuff like that. Another option you could have is a lot of these shows when Xbox has their anime month, dude. They end up putting the shows, and you can buy them at a really cheap price. You know, I'm all for supporting these guys and stuff like that, but everything that goes on with digital, you know. Purchase accordingly, and I've created my own ecosystem of how I participate in the show, right? So when anime month comes around, they have the full season. It's usually $4.99, right? I'm more confident in Xbox than I am, or Microsoft digital store, probably more than I should be, but I am. So I take the look for $5. I'll take the bounce, right? I'll watch it enough time. So like I said, if I can't find anything else to watch, I'll just go back and watch these old episodes. Solo Leveling, I've been watching on a constant drip. Right, because there's things about the show that they have so much stuff going on story wise and character wise and world building wise that you can go back and pick up on stuff you never realized. So highly recommend that. Again, I highly recommend the show I've been talking about. Season 2 started. It's called Freeing. It's on Crunchyroll as well. I actually bought the first season for $4.99 on Xbox, the Xbox movies and TVs show or a store, and they had that whole first season for $4.99. I don't know if it's still on there for that much. I doubt it. But anytime Xbox has an anime thing, guys, just go and look at it. I know it's a long list and a lot of it's redundant, right? I own most of the stuff that's in there, but for a lot of the newer stuff, they'll put it in there. So for Freeing, it's in season 2, or there's more episodes now. So I watched the Tope that. That's another one I was hooked on, because the premise of that is the story of the character. She's a mage, and she's the story begins off when the actual the story begins when the actual she's part of a party and they beat the big boss, and that's when the story begins. So you're basically focusing on her, and I think for some people that might be too slow of a pace for people to get it. But I love story and character and stuff like that. So they basically show her as an elf and how disconnected she is from a lot of stuff, and because she joined this party of people, mostly humans and one dwarf, right? that she built this repertoire with them, and it helped to like kind of forge her. So in her later years, right, is what you're looking at, and then she takes on people, and then she wants to experience the world through these people's eyes. Because what ends up happening is they fast forward after the battle, when their party wins, they fast forward several years, and then the party members are older, and a lot of them have passed away. And because of her experience she had with them, right, as an elf and as a mage, being disconnected from people the way she was, she's gone on this journey where she's trying to rediscover a lot of the stuff that she experienced with the party she was with, and it's actually what builds the world around it. And it's a great story, dude. I love it. But it doesn't, it's a typical anime, dude. It's not action driven, but when they have action, dude, it's awesome. Like the last episode I watched, I was so hooked to it because this girl, she can do so many different things, man. It's amazing, and they just find new and interesting ways to showcase a lot of the battles, not just the fight choreography, but how they encompass a lot of the stuff that goes on, even in the dialogue and stuff like that. It's very refreshing because I consume so much of this content, right? And so definitely recommend that. And then lastly, if you guys are into K dramas, again, I know I pushed this, but I think it'd be great. Again, a lot of the people that complain the most is like the lack of story development, lack of world building, lack of character development, boring, stale characters. You guys got to get into K dramas. It's a bit formulaic, I understand. Easy for me to accept because, like I said, I'm old and I grew up with my aunties, and when you get watched by aunties and other members of your family, especially if it's the female side, right? It's just like they all watched Young and the Restless, and they all watched As the World Turns, and General Hospital was the biggest one because even I was watching that with them because they had so much weird, kooky stuff. But I mean, I highly recommend K dramas, and they're not on that. They're formulaic in their own way, but they're not on that level too. They're actually a lot better, if I'm being honest, right? Because it's all more modernized too, and just some of the stuff that the chances they take with even like camera angles or certain things that they do is refreshing. But if you can get past the subtitles, right, and I know that's a big hang up for a lot of people, that's why they can't do it. But if you can get past the subtitles, dude, and you can get into the story and get used to that, dude, I'm telling you, man, they got so much content out there that's high grade. And I'm just being straight up with you guys, dude. Like, and a couple of like the shows I recommend right off the bat, because I believe they're still on Netflix, man. Boys Over Flowers to me was like the big. If you want a good introduction into what K drama is, that's the premiere. Um, that's the one I recommend the most. Again, Boys Over Flowers, dude. That's a typical. I mean, that's what got me hooked on it. I was watching K dramas before that, just off and on. But once I watched that one, dude, I was hooked. That was the one that got me hooked in. But if you also do like a search on Netflix, dude, the K drama genre spreads across every single movie type, trope, and genre. Right. So what I mean by that is like you can see science fiction, you can see action, you can see horror. I love what they do with their zombie stuff. You guys know I'm a huge zombie fan for zombie content, so they do a lot of their what is that? Like Train to Busan, one of my favorites. Um, Man, I can't do this. See, this is what happens when you get old, dude. I'm trying to look this stuff up for you guys. So I don't want to give you guys bum scoops as they say here. Uh, Korean zombies. Let me see what the top. Kingdom, one of my favorite. Kingdom, highly recommend that, especially if like the period pieces. When it comes to Korean stuff, it's really good because it has all the trappings of that, but they have zombies in it. And for some people, it's like, how does that work? Well, it does. I'm just being honest with you. All of Us Are Dead, which is really good as well. And Sweet Home was okay. Like one of the main reasons I watched Sweet Home was because of the main actress. One of the main actresses in it. It's kind of a little bit too gory for me, if I'm being honest. Uh, oh yeah, Alive was another good Korean drama that focused on zombies. Oh, Peninsula, forgot about that. Peninsula, I think that's the sequel to Rampant. Yeah, that was pretty good. I like that one. Yeah, so that's a couple of the stuff that I'm watching right now, as well as Physical 102 Underground. If you guys didn't know, there's this reality show on Netflix. It focuses on South Korean personalities, mostly from the the national team athletes, fitness influencers, YouTube influencers, people in the industry, movie, across the board, people like that, and people in the civil service thing, which I think is a good mix of stuff. But basically, the premise of it is out of 100 people, you got to be the one standing, and then the person at the end wins a cash prize. But they have to go through all these challenges and stuff like that. And I'm loving the second season so far. I've watched all 4 episodes. Highly recommend that. What else we got? Yeah, so that's just a couple of the things I'm doing right now. I'm still playing Tales of Arise. That game is longer than I thought it would be. Also, I didn't realize that it has a leveling component, of course, which all RPGs should have, and it also has like a what do they call that, online purchases component. So I'm trying to get through it, but I'm also trying to experience because I actually like the story, and it's a lot cutscene driven, man. So I don't know how people could beat it as fast as they did. They must have just skipped all the cutscenes. Unfortunately for me, I feel like I'm playing an anime, so I'm taking the time to go through all the cutscenes. Right, so when I go to a campfire when you rest, I go back and I try and watch all the videos I might have missed. Right, because they have a movie thing that you can go back. If something sometimes you miss something, like you're engaged in the action, or you're trying to move forward. The RB button pops up and you press it, and I try and catch those because it's part of the story. It moves it forward. But again, if you're like me and you play that way, this is going to take me a while to beat. I thought I'd beat it already. In fact, if I just would focus on the game, I could probably beat it. The leveling is a little bit tricky. I'm finding out as I get into the higher stages. But having a great time with that game. Playing COD. I think I'm like 185 now. Um, been enjoying some of the modes that they have, and that's what pushed me back into it. Some of the maps that they have been really awesome. Yeah, gives me that bump and feel of the old COD back in the day. What else am I playing? Jeez. I feel bad because I haven't been able to touch any of the ID at Xbox stuff. And I know I've got a couple other games that I'm playing or I've touched on, but I'm going blank right now. Oh, I played and I'm still playing the Doom one, Bolton. I'm just gonna buy it. What I ended up doing, guys, I ended up buying these games because I want to try other stuff. As you know, they have a big month. They're wrapping up the month really huge, going into April, which will be huge. So again, if you guys are on the Xbox front and you find yourself kind of disappointed with what some of the moves, well, specifically what Microsoft has been doing as far as sending their games over to other consoles. Again, if you just focus on what you have in front of you, and I hate to beat a dead horse, but this is irritating me the most. Dude, games skip Xbox all the time for various reasons, right? Since this conversation is so hypercharged because there's people focusing on it so much, especially people on the Xbox side. Look, I don't like to dump on Tim Dog, dude, but if you can't handle this dude, just unfollow him. Like I said, he's still on my thing. Because what it is on social media, I don't have to unfollow people. People tend to unfollow me, right? Especially when they find out what my politics are, right? So it's easy for me, dude. In fact, I'll do that every once in a while. I'll take like a Trump speech and push it on my thing, and that'll purge me like 50 to 100 people. And I'm not doing that to be a prick. I'm just doing it to keep it real, right? I want people to support and hang with me that are down with me. Like I'm saying, you have to vote for the dude, but if you don't like my politics and stuff like that, it's best that we just separate. For me, there's a lot of people on the Xbox side, dude. I know that they're left leaning and they're hardcore liberals, but since they bleed green, I rock out with them, right? I can check myself in that sense. We won't get along with anything when it comes to politics. I can guarantee you that. But you bleed green, I'm fine with you, dude. You don't like Trump, all right? Well, as long as you have an Xbox, you have Game Pass, all right, that's cool. Right? And that's what I mean, man. That's the mindset I have. This is why when stuff like this happens, when one game studio decides to skip Xbox, dude, I'm like, I don't care, dude. I can't even finish the games I have now. In fact, thank you. You skipping Xbox, right? Now I feel sorry for if you knew that if it's a game you were looking forward to or develop, but let's be honest, dude, come on. I know most of you guys, it wasn't even on your radar. 99.9% of you guys, right? You're just faking the funk on this thing, right? You don't know anything about these companies and this game, right? And all of a sudden it matters to you. Dude, I do the heavy lifting with this stuff, dude. I follow Humble Games. I follow Focus Entertainment. I follow 505, right? Like that GDC, man. They had these dudes standing in the middle of on the field. I think it was actually that's the base I was stationed on. They said Yerba Buena. So if you guys didn't know, dude, I was in the Navy and I was stationed at Treasure Island, and that Treasure Island is part of Yerba Buena. I don't know if they just named it that park that they named it, where all these developers over there screaming because of the patriarchy. Gamergate 2.0 and stuff like that. I mean, you guys can scream all you want to. At the end of the day, people need to buy your game, so I would keep that very much in your mind. Now, respect to you, dude. If you're a developer, man, and you wear your stuff on the sleeve, as long as you're honest about it, right? You can call me like a right wing nut job, a Nazi and stuff like that. Okay, cool. I'm not gonna buy the game. You're fine with that, and I'm fine with we agree to disagree, respect, walk away. But you have this guy's in the middle of you screaming for himself. Dude, the level of first world problems in this country, man. And there's real issues in this country. Don't get me wrong. But if you take just a quick gander over what's going on all over the rest of the world, dude, you'd be more than happy to live there. Because there's genocide happening all over the place, dude. People complain about certain stuff that's happening here, dude. You have a whole ethnicities, man, getting attacked and might be wiped out. Sometimes you gotta pull your head out of your like I talked about in the earlier bubble, the bubble that people love to live in, right? And so anyway, so that's the way I approach everything when it comes to that, dude. If you guys ain't cool with that, that's fine, dude. Look, I've had people I've known for years, dude, step off. And I'm talking even in my personal life, dude. I'm like, okay, fine, dude. My whole thing, dude. If you guys did not do it, just revolves around for God first, right? And for me, that's the most important thing. I'm more concerned of what God thinks about me than anybody else. I'm not saying I put myself on a high pedestal, but that is my litmus for where I'm at. So everything I have has to be principled. I'm not saying that I'm wrong. I make mistakes. I'm all that kind of stuff too, but that's where I'm at. So when I look at kind of things, dude, I look in that perspective, dude. Like when people come at me for my politics and stuff like that, especially on people on my side, dude, when they're trying to talk to me about stuff, dude, I'm like, dude, I'm getting kingdom ready, bro. I'm getting kingdom ready, dude. This world's gonna pass away. This world is not gonna last. And that's why a lot of people are wondering what's going on right now, because they can feel it. Because everything that's going on, dude, you have possibility of World War III. This country might be in war on three fronts. Right? You got a generation of people that don't want this, that don't know what they're gonna do about it. Record low numbers, recruiting for military for various reasons. Economy in shambles, man. People can't find jobs. Everybody getting laid off. And I'm setting my sights on things that are above right now. That's where I'm at. That's where I'm at, dude. I do this stuff because it's something that I grew up. Like I told you guys in my last podcast, there's a point in my life where I thought, well, I got to give this stuff up. I just couldn't. Not that I was addicted to it and stuff like that. I just realized that I actually like this stuff. Like how somebody likes to golf or somebody likes to read a good book. It doesn't encompass my every waking moment like it used to when I was younger. In fact, that's what I kind of regret the most. That's probably why I had that little midlife crisis, right? Because I probably spent way too much time on this stuff than I should have. I could have did more stuff with my life. So when you hit that midlife crisis, that's where people have midlife crisis. I'm saying I was all in shambles and stuff. I just had a realization that I could have done more with myself instead of the stuff that I was doing or I focused on. But you live, you learn, man. I'm not saying I had the worst life in the world, but I wish I would approach pop culture in the way that I am now, right? Just to enjoy it, not to get all caught up in all the kind of stuff. Like I'll counsel war, I'll talk about certain things, but it's all principle driven, guys. That's all it boils down to. For me, that's what it's all about. Principle driven. You know what, dude? I think this thing's about to crash. I'm trying to do this on the. Again, a new format for me, guys. Dude, I totally got off the thing. I'm sorry, guys. I was totally off the I was totally off. Oh, I'm sorry, Eva, dude. I was totally off the thing because I started off and nobody was in the comments, and I had to grab. I was on the internet trying to figure out because I couldn't remember stuff. My bad. Dude. Okay. Hey, brother, can I join? Yeah, sorry. This was kind of a impromptu stuff. What does woke? And then I gotta go, to be honest with you guys, because I gotta take my son. What does woke is dead mean? Yeah, the only thing Mar is just like a lot of the stuff that they're producing, which is basically trash, if you want to put it that way. Unimaginative writing, uh, horribly constructed characters, half-ass world building. um, it's changing, right? I would like people to go. I would like the industry to go back to entertainment first and foremost. Even if it's about the dollar, dude, because the dollar helps keep them in check. Because I get pushback from a lot of people. What, you don't like seeing people of color or people of this and that? I'm like, I don't mind seeing them in there, dude. But are they any good? right? Like I had war with a lot of Halo people about Spartan Lock because some people were saying like, "Oh, dude, that was a diversity hire." I'm like, "No, dude." When people say that to me, it's like, "Dude, okay, so you probably don't like Halo. You're not a Halo fan, right?" Because a lot of these guys are like, "Oh, just and some people are racist about it and stuff like that. I mean, I was like, dude, if you when you tell me stuff like that, dude, I don't go for the race thing, dude. I start questioning your bona fides, right? I automatically go to that. Like, okay, so do you play Halo? Like that's where I go. Do you know the story of Halo? And I'm not even hardcore Halo. Like Mr. 100 is hardcore Halo, and the crew he hangs out with, dude. They read every single book. I've read several of the books, or if I'm being honest, not read them. I listen to the audio book, right? I'm in the universe, right? But it's like I like Star Trek, but I'm not a Trekkie. Like I'm more of a Star Wars guy. It's just like I don't talk about Gears of War, and some people think I don't like Gears of War. It's not that I don't like Gears of War. It's that I'm not on that level with Gears of War. I think it's a great game. I just don't know. I'm not in the culture of Gears of War like other people are. So I'm not gonna fake it, dude. I'm just gonna be 100 about it. But I love Halo, and especially on the story side. And one of the things that pissed me off is it's like, well, you don't see Master Chief's not in it. I'm like, Master Chief's footprint is all over that thing, right? He's the catalyst and the drive behind the whole story. So do you have a complaint? Like you just wanted to play with him 24/7? Well, they went a different direction. So, what can I tell you? If you don't like it, then and respect it, then just step away. But if you're gonna sit there and tell me it's all about the fact that they wanted diversity in there, maybe deep down inside the guys created it that way. But if you're gonna do that, at least make it good. That's a great character. Master Chief was still the focus point. In fact, it is what I talked about earlier in the podcast. When you have people that put people over, that's what Locke was. That's why I don't buy into the thing about Locke being a diversity thing. This is the thing that's happening right now. Where you can be looking at this stuff and you can see something clear as day as the diverse DEI stuff, but then there's something that's not, and then people just assume it is, right? So, that's that balance that you got to have when you talk about this kind of stuff. That's what I'm trying to bring with my channel. I talked about this with Unlimited, man. There was some stuff that I saw with these things coming out, but then it seems to be swinging on the other side way too much. Because what tends to happen, especially now on social media and on the internet in general, or like on YouTube, people will jump on it. You have to know if these guys are being 100% about it. They could just have a wrong opinion, or they could just be biased to a fault. But some of these guys are doing it just to get views, right? Because they see the pendulum is shifting. So Marmar, that's what I mean by that. Woke is diversity, inclusion, and equity thing. I don't agree with. It is the whole thing of having people accept things at the sake of canon, all this kind of stuff, and it's changing because you see that, and that's one of the main reasons I see it changing because you have people trying to jump on the tree now, and that's how you can tell when something's shifting. That's one of the telltales. I'm not saying I agree with, but that's one of the telltales that I look at. Wait, is this one of those cringe? I think woke is losing gaming people. Wait, is this one of those cringe? Effing woke is losing gaming people. I mean, you could say that. I just think woke is losing gaming. Wait, what is this one of those? Woke is losing gaming people. Are you speaking about me? I think woke is killing gaming. Yes. As if you listen to the video, the creative side, right? The business side, definitely. Yeah, businesses losing millions of dollars to billions of dollars, and they're not course correcting because the fans are who they should be focusing on. What you do with certain things, you break new ground, and then you try and think outside the box, or maybe draw other audiences. But even those audiences can't support their brands. So yeah, if that's what you mean, like that will is one of those cringe. Uh, well, and there's another. I wish I would have picked up on this thing earlier because I would like you to explain it more. And there's this other aspect of the losing gaming people. The game is also losing because they can't. Um, Economy's bad. I talk about that on the channel as well. For the most part, gaming is a hobby. For me, again, a lifestyle. But if you don't game, you won't die. Right? Like if you don't have a house, then you'll be homeless. If you don't have water, right? Stuff like that, right? It's not a necessity. In other words, you won't die without it. You might not like it or be sad about it, right? I know I would, right? Because I'm a fan. I'm a gamer. So that's what I was talking about. Yeah. So there's multiple reasons why gaming is losing. When you pile DEI on top of it, it's not going to help the situation. And that's what a lot of these guys, I know that it's ideologically driven because any normal business would have course corrected. Because what people are doing is people are actually finding other avenues to entertain themselves. Or you went through 2 years of a pandemic that forced people um, to course correct their lives. It was what I like to call a moment of clarity for a lot of people. Like you sat there and you're like, okay, well maybe I don't need to go to the movies, or maybe I don't have to go out and eat. You know, maybe I should learn how to cook. Maybe I should grow my own vegetables because I can't afford uh, $9 bananas, right? Stuff like that. So that kind of stuff. That's a cultural changer, right? So that's why you saw where a lot of people were stuck at home, and then they got the time to play their games, and they got into gaming again and stuff like that. And then that was not that didn't stay. That didn't it grew. They grew the gaming industry, but unfortunately, game is really is as most of us can tell you, man. Gaming is a expensive hobby for most average people, right? And then when you have a bad economy, and then other things matter like your rent and your mortgage stuff, prices of everything go up. You know, you start budgeting and stuff like that. Games will get cut for most people. This is why I feel the most for Microsoft right now, and I don't want them to overcorrect. You know, I want them. They need consoles. They need everything like that, and I don't think they are going to overcorrect. I just hope they don't. That's just my own insecurity, right? Because I think once everything gets better, or if it does get better, as it should get better, hopefully, this stuff will fall back into line. I mean, there will be ramifications for the choices that have been made, right? Because people have changed their lives to accommodate this. That won't go away. That'll leave a mark, right? You just can't have a correct like. Say there's an election at the end of the year and Trump wins. For the 4 years he was in office, one of the reasons people are drawn to him is because the economy was good. Gas prices were cheaper, stuff like that. But I don't think a lot of people. I talked to Zobi about this a little bit, but Zobi is a little bit more positive than I am about it because at the end of the day, people. The reason why people push certain things is they understand how people think, and people get used to it, right? Like where I live, dude, the cost of living is ridiculous, right? And so I went out last night because it's very rare that we go out, but my son wanted to eat something, so we went out to get something to eat, right? And so we went, and I was shocked at how many people were at the mall where I normally go to, and I was just there to eat sushi, and there was a ton of people there. Um, but one of the interesting thing I was telling my kid, I was like, I have to be cognizant of the fact that when the economy is this bad, you actually get to see who has money and who doesn't, or who's faking it too, right? Because a lot of people's credit card debt are bad, stuff like that. But sorry, I didn't mean to get off track. But just reading the tea leaves, man. That's what Microsoft needs to do, and to be flexible, which is what they're doing, dude. I mean, for all the reason I can't stand the 4 games and stuff like that. I mean, that's the sign of one of the things they do to be flexible. Don't agree with it, right, at all. But as on a positive note, right, it's like when things transition, they should be able to transition as well. That's one of the things I see from that, good or bad. So I hope I answered your question, dude. I didn't mean to blow you off. I wasn't avoiding. What ended up happening, guys, I was doing my emails. There's stuff I had to get done this morning. So I was just doing it as I was talking. Mr. Kima, folks never complain when games get placed in. Yeah, and that happens all the time. Again, you have somebody like Tim Dog who's been a catalyst of this kind of stuff. But the PlayStation guys have been kind of concerned about their own stuff. But then when you have voices on the Xbox community, this is why Xbody or Ponybots are a big thing, right? Because these guys actually add fuel to the fire. So most of the dudes might not even miss that. But there's probably a number of games that skip the consoles for various reasons, like Xbox. My point is, Mr. Kima, is that we have enough to keep us busy. If we're, and I'm just going to be honest, man. If you're a gamer and you like to play games, you like variety, then you're in a good spot, right? Just Game Pass alone, you could satiate yourself off of that. Most of us who are real gamers. We have backlog, right? We could be doing that. I haven't even touched some of the Sega games I want to play yet, right? Quarry came out. Dude, I'm actually thinking about trying that today. The mech game that I've been wanting to play came out. I downloaded it, but I haven't had a chance to play it because plans got kind of turned upside down, which is fine. And it's for my kids. I'm good. But yeah, that's the narrative that Xbox is having to deal with every time. And like I said, guys like us, we're numb to it. So let it roll, man. Let it roll, man, until Microsoft actually owns everything in gaming. Pepe Le Pew. What's up, Pepe, man? I seem to be alive. I went to bed and woke up. I'm glad you're here, dude. Again, I apologize, guys. When the comment section wasn't pumping, I just basically went started doing my email and looking online, especially when I was trying to say stuff and I lost track of what I was talking about. Or I couldn't give you guys the proper answer. I love subs, dubs, edit stuff. Yeah, so I always have to do subs, bro. I can't do dub. But I can read pretty fast, so that's what helps me. Plus, like I said, I go back and I watch the shows. Like I was watching a couple of the episodes of Solo Leveling, man. Just and there's stuff you miss sometimes, right? And then I was just, man, I love that show. The latest episode was probably one of my favorite. And what's up, Two Man, dude? Yeah, dude, it's really just the launch of the podcast. I wanted to do it early in the morning, give other people a chance to pop in. I didn't see Hebot's thing. Yeah, sorry that I do this way, guys. Just I fit it in when I can. That's just the way it is for me, man. Just stuff is fluid, man. For me, I got a lot of stuff going on right now, mostly with family. No, I should say a lot of stuff, but like really important stuff, man, that I can't ignore. You know, there's some stuff you can put off to the side or just let your kids handle it, but this stuff is important. It's really cool, man. I got my son finally got to see him perform. He's in a jazz band. Man, those dudes was good, man. They were super good. And they had these young kids come up and sing. I was like, geez, man, these kids are talented. I had a kid come up who's singing some Frank Sinatra classics, dude, and he's not that he sounded like Frank Sinatra, but he had that tone about him, and he made it his own, dude, which was kind of cool, man. But it was like, you know, it was like the best of both worlds, man. Touch of the old with a little bit of the new. Then this girl came up, man, and she sang, dude, gosh, man, I have to get an energy drink here. Sweet Thing. And she sang it in this, and not the Mary J. Blige version. She sang the Shaka Khan version, which blew me away. Like, and again, like it's the way she did it. You could tell it was drawing from that version of the song, but she even did stuff on her own. That was cool, man. Pretty girl too, man. She had like I was sitting there watching her because my son then I played already. I was impressed with my son. I didn't realize his drumming got so good. And then but this one part, my son was playing the bongos. Like he was kind of like they did a solo, and he finally got stuck. He's like, I could look at it. I was looking at his face, and just kind of like, okay, let's move on, right? Because you have freestyle and stuff like that. I thought it was fun, but I'm proud of him. He's really stepped it up, man. He does good. He's talented. But when this girl stepped out, I was like, oh man, this chick should be, or this young lady, sorry, this young lady should be like, well, have an album somewhere, man. She has all the qualifications, the look, like I said, pretty girl. Um, she can definitely has a presence on stage, right? You can tell she has this the way she conducts herself and handles herself. So she just had a flow to her that was like you don't see a lot of times, dude. I mean, it's like I said, dude. It had a touch of old soul to her. It was good, dude. I was like, man, this girl's talented. Her and the kid. The only came with the kid. Like, I think he's like Samoan, big kid, man. Big. This is a big kid, man. He's like only 16 too. People were like when he walked up on the stage, man. He's such a big guy that when he started singing, people kind of threw people off. Like some people were just shocked. But man, dude, I mean, like if this dude ends up in the NFL, I wouldn't be surprised. That's how big he was. And so, but he was singing, man. He had a nice cadence. Dude. It was perfect. And so that's the kind of stuff, dude, that I talk about when I talk about my life growing up, when being involved in all this kind of stuff. For my kids, I've taken a different approach with them, and I'm trying to have them experience a lot of different things outside of the stuff that I grew up in. I grew up as a latchkey kid, so a lot of my stuff is more internal. That's why I like comic book games and stuff like that. That's why I'm doing this podcast as I wrapped it up. And that's what you're gonna get on this podcast, dude. And it'll be different, dude. When as other people are here, like he bought it. Sorry again, brother, I missed your message. But he can talk about 80s stuff. He can talk about collectibles. He can talk about He-Man. He can talk about a lot of different things when it comes up because we kind of grew up the same way. Sega Man as well. I still want to do a podcast with Sega Man. I'm trying to get a one-on-one with him because I want to hear his opinion about the other podcast we had. Man, he came in, but my brother's tired. Dude, he worked hard. See, that's another thing of our generation, dude. We have to work. That's just the way it is. So I'm gonna do a one-on-one, man. Sega Man, if you hear this or if you're listening, we can do a one-on-one later on, me and you. I'll fire it up because I gotta run stuff with my kids, but then I'll be going with the mom. So I'll have time, dude. I'll try and do it a little bit earlier so it's not too late. But I'll message you back. But if you're listening, dude, that's the plan. We'll do that one-on-one so you can give your thoughts off. And I'll just interview. It's basically an interview, dude. I just want to get your opinion. We'll do it that way. Wrecking Crew podcast will be back next week. Doing late Friday evenings and stuff like that. Again, this podcast on the POPCAST will be every other week as well, but mostly probably on Saturday mornings. I try and do it earlier in the morning so that the brothers can participate. Because early morning for me would be midday for them, and before they have to hit off and run and do their stuff. And as far as other content on the channel, I don't know, guys. I'm trying to figure out what I'm gonna do. I'm not gonna lie, dude. I'm a pro Xbox channel, and kind of taken aback a little bit because I don't have that much content to talk about or create as far on the Xbox side. We can do the podcast because I'll have other people here talking about it, and then we can cover news topics. But I don't have to do videos every single time because right now, like I said, man, on the Xbox side, it's funny that Unlimited Production said this that he wanted to turn his channel into something more positive, and it is more positive, right? But my channel, as you guys know, it's not done to be clickbaity, but it's done to be, again, on principle, right? I wanted to address and get my thoughts on a lot of the stuff, the hypocrisy and stuff in the gaming media. As you guys see, Kotaku, before I go, Kotaku looks like it's going to be non-existent, right? Editor-in-chief has stepped down, I believe. And that's something that I'm 100%, dude. I've been saying this. I get flack for it. I don't care. I mean, like, I've been saying, like, AI 2024. Right, because the way that these gaming sites report, you might as well have AI do it, and at least we don't have to. And then, well, at least with the AI, we don't have to deal with the cringiness of these reporters and their hot takes, right? AI can be just as bad, right? But at least not having these guys around, right? And hopefully, you can get somebody can get it back on track. There's more hope for AI than I feel. As you can see, dude, look, that's the whole thing about this podcast. There's more hope for AI than there is for people course correcting. Again, it's an ideology. Don't forget that. That's what you're dealing with in pop culture. Right? It's ideologically driven. They don't care about the money, dude. They don't care about you. And I'm talking about you as a fan, and definitely as you as a consumer. They don't care about the money, about the business, about the actual worlds, characters, everything that's been created that come way before them. They'll just piss on it and burn it down, right? And be happy as it burns down. That's how selfish these people are. That's why I can't stand these guys. Right? It's beyond the gaslighting. These people are actually vain, and beyond gaslighting is beyond their vain. They're very vain people, but it's all about them, right? Right, dude. These people are selfish. At the end of the day, they're just selfish. They don't respect you. They don't respect your thoughts. Right? They don't respect anything about the culture that guys like me, Hebot, grew up in and helped build. So I do. So people said, dude, you taking it personal? Yeah, I do take it as a personal slight, man. Especially when you have a comment about something and then people try and shut you down, people that are ignorant and don't know what they're talking about. So definitely I'll rile up about that. I do that all the time. I have no problem doing that. Right? This is why on the Xbox side it's a little hard for me because Xbox basically flipped that script. Because as an Xbox guy defending Xbox, right? If a PlayStation guy attacks me about games coming over, what can I say? They did it. When a PlayStation guy says, well, we're gonna get. It looks like we're gonna get other games coming over. What can I say? Right? Because when they did that, it opened Pandora's box. So the speculation's out there. I'm not saying that it's true or that these guys are right, but what am I gonna do? You guys know the content I make on there is mostly ranting. What am I gonna do? How am I gonna answer that? I can't. Because like I said, I got to keep it 100 on this channel, right? So I can't do those kind of videos anymore. Now, if something pops off, I can, like the whole thing with Tim Dog on Twitter and then other Xbox guys talking about this game passing, whatever this game is that passed on Xbox. I'm like, dude, who cares? Play your games, man. Stay in your ecosystem. Just download one of the many games on Game Pass. Get lost in that. And again, like I'll reiterate this, dude. When I see that, it doesn't bother me. I actually like, okay, great. I can focus on my other games. And this is not something I just come up just because I'm a sore loser or anything like that, or that's the people attribute that to me. I'm saying that to you guys because that's the way I consume my media. I've been talking about this for a long time. I've been saying like for how many like over since last year, dude. I've been drowning in my games. Dude. I could literally retire from work if I got paid for just playing games, or if I just had like I won the lottery, like I won that Powerball or Mega Millions, or whatever, 977. I could leave my job and then just focus on family and just focus on playing games all day. That's how many games I have to play. Just every single day, trying to knock out games. Right. So why do I care if one game decides to skip for whatever reasons, dude? I don't know if this dude had animosity. I didn't read that in the article. In the little bit that I saw, why this guy's not bringing his game here. Maybe he does hate Xbox. Maybe he is doing it from a financial thing. But that's a business decision, dude. If you guys don't like that, dude, you guys step up and make your own games. Go into your industry, And I'm not doing that as a slight to you guys. I'm just saying, people do make decisions for multitude of reasons. Maybe that fits his lifestyle. Maybe it is what it is. And I know we've been burned before. Like Cuphead is a good example. Like he did an excellent video on that. And he likes to bring that up, right? Because it's very cognizant to what we're discussing. That's why I'm using it as an example now, right? That you put all your stuff in there, and then they want to step. Right? This is why you see Microsoft doing the things that they're doing, dude. So for the one thing that Microsoft did that I don't agree with, but the bazillion other things that they're doing. Right. But this is why I'm not as vocal anymore, man, because I can't be, man. This is what I mean is like they took it away. Right. And it's funny to me because most of the PlayStation guys right now are up in arms on other stuff. Right. So, we got, I mean, good or bad, dude. I mean, there's a silver lining to this, dude. Like, you don't like this stuff, dude, just go play your games. I'm not saying that in a bad way. I'm being serious because that's what I'm doing. I can actually beat some of the games now if I don't focus on this as much, man. I spent like almost an hour, almost 2 hours on this podcast. I could have spent 2 hours the Tales of Arise, man. I could have beat the latest boss and been on to the last world. Now I'll waste a lot of time doing recipes and crap. That's why games like that are hard, dude. Games like that are hard for me, man, because I do get sidetracked. I like to look at every single corner. I like to do every single thing. I like to level every single character. That's why my completion rate on this stuff is, man. Even my daughter gets on about me, dude. She don't get too much, man. But I throw it back at her. Like, like some people, man, I got a job. You know what I'm saying? She's in school though. She's in school. She's doing good. She's doing good. But you know what I mean, man? If I could, dude, shoot, you could see me completing games left and right. But that's not my life. That's not my world. Then I get distracted by COD, right? Because there's a new season that came out. Oh wait, there's a new season coming. Anyway, I went on there, dude, and I saw one of the armors, dude. I actually bought it. Oh, fan random. I just joined. Is this woke dead? No. It's just hey, fan random, welcome number one. Sorry, I just joined. Is this woke dead? No, it'll never die, dude. It'll just reform itself. I don't know if you keep up with Star Wars, but George Lucas himself, he's quoted as saying. Now some people are saying that was the wife that said that or whatever. But the bottom line is like the news right now is like he looks like he's throwing his stuff behind Bob Iger because he's also if you guys didn't know, he also owns he's a shareholder for Disney. So I think he could be doing it to defend his thing. He's built an empire of this stuff, but we all know that he's made billions of dollars on his product, and I'm pretty sure he wants to keep that going moving forward. I disagree with him in doing it this way because I think it could be better. Definitely could be better. I think it's good though that a lot of this stuff is coming into light, and that people that normally don't focus on it are starting to focus on it. And I'm not saying that you have to have the same thought process like I just ranted about for the last 2 hours. But what I am saying is that it's good that people know that it's happening, right? And it can now kind of look at it for what it is. Because I see people that are not engaged in the politics of pop culture, and they notice it. They're like, oh, that movie seemed kind of, why did they go in this direction, or why is the character like this, and all this kind of stuff. Why since I'm watching a sci-fi, there's a rainbow flag in the back. Why does that stormtrooper have multicolored gear? Is that a new stormtrooper? I think I replaced the other stormtrooper. You know what I'm saying, dude? It's just it's that these guys have they have no way to be subtle, and they can't be subtle because it's their religion, right? They want you to know. They want to be proud about it. They want to put it on display for anybody. They like peacocks, right? They want to strut, and they want everybody to know. They want you to know, and they want you to accept it. If you don't accept it, you're the enemy. I'm just being honest. That's just the way it rolls, right? So, and I getting blowback on my stuff from people that I know talking to me about that. It's a waste of time. Now it's all in your head and stuff like that, dude. I'm like, dude, don't. For some of these guys, I tell them straight up, like, depending on the person, of course. But some of these dudes that come at me, like, don't tell me nothing, dude. I've been doing this for over 4 years. I know what I'm talking about. I might not articulate like other people do the best, right? To get my viewpoints out and stuff. I might get lost in translation, or I might go down the rabbit hole when I do these videos and stuff like that. But one thing I won't back down on is, dude, I know what I'm talking about. Because unlike other people that talk about this stuff, especially guys that come at me from a younger generation, trying to tell me this kind of stuff, dude, they look this stuff up, they follow the trends, they listen to the media, dude. I don't have to do that stuff because I was there, dude. I say this all the time on this podcast. I was there, dude. I lived it. Right? I know the success of Dreamcast, and I was there. I was there when it launched, dude. I was there when Marvel went bankrupt and sold off all their stuff and all their properties. This is why their stuff is all over the place, and they haven't been able to get everything back to make a true cohesive universe. Which doesn't matter anyway, because they pissed that all the way too. You know what I'm saying? So I've seen it there. I've seen the ups and downs, dude. When it comes to Disney, I remember Wonderful World of Disney. I remember Herbie the Love Bug, movies like Apple Dumpling Gang. I remember when they've been their highs and lows, Bread Knobs and Blue Sticks, Mary Poppins, right? Where they had to reinvent themselves and find themselves, rebrand for a new generation, but still keep the core of what makes Disney, what makes their brand, which is a family brand. I've seen them do it all for over 4 or 5 decades. I've seen them do that. Right. And this is the first time I've seen them go. Everything they built, everything they believed in, everything that Disney believed in, Walt Disney, I'm talking about, all of that stuff, dude. This is the only time I've seen them piss on his legacy and piss this all down the drain. Especially at a time when they were successful, right? But because they've allowed themselves to get influenced by the woke mind virus, this is why I talk about this stuff now, and I'll talk about it, right? Dude, this is why I talk about this kind of stuff, because it doesn't have to be this way. That's what pisses me off, dude. Right? And then you have, look, dude, there's 2 camps in this too, right? There's people that don't want to deal with it, right? Because they don't want to get attacked. I'm old and I don't care. And then the other camp is that there's people support it, right? They want this to be, and I feel bad for them, man, because they don't support it in the way that it's being produced. They support it because on paper it looks good, dude. Just like how people talk about communism, on paper it looks good. But then when you put it into practice, like again, China Observer, YouTube channel, go watch it. Go watch their videos, dude. China is a communist country. People have been popping them up as the country that's going to surpass the United States of America on the world stage, right? And I knew that wasn't going to happen, and I knew they were a paper tiger from the jump because they don't believe in capitalism. They're a communist country. Just like somebody who like I'm not going to use that example because God forgive me. I almost went down a bad path. But it's just like anybody who tells you that they're addicted to gambling, man, and they have a really bad problem, and they're like, oh, later in a couple months I'm going to go to Vegas, and you said it, and I was like, hey, bro, man, you're my friend, bro. I don't think that's probably the best thing for you to do. Maybe you might want to go to go see the Alamo in Texas or something, or go see the Golden Gate Bridge in San Francisco, bro. But I don't think the bright lights of Vegas is a good place for you, bro, to go to. I'm just being honest, brother. Man, I want to stay away from Sin City a little bit, So that's what I'm saying, right? I mean, I understand that people want to see themselves in a sense, right? But again, that's antithetical to what this stuff has been for so long, dude. It's not about seeing yourself; it's about escaping reality, in a sense, right? And then you can touch on this kind of stuff. Like for me, I don't care about like I'll use Jason Momoa as an example, dude, because he's Hawaiian, right? Like me, right? But I don't care that he's Hawaiian when he's in the shows that he is, right? Sure, it's cool, whatever, right? But when I watch him in the show, dude, there's reasons why I like when he's like his character, Ronnie Dexter. I talk about it on Stargate Atlantis, dude. I know who he was. I knew he was Hawaiian, but if he can't provide me that what I expect from Stargate Atlantis, dude, they put him in there, and then for me, I was a little bit worried because I'm like, oh, dude, this is the kind of stuff that TV shows do all the time. He's kind of popular right now. He's, people know who he is, so they kind of stuff him in to draw this like the diversity thing is like, oh, drawing different, all this, yeah, whatever, yada, 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 whatever. But at the end of the day, man, is how this guy's going to perform. Am I going to like his character? How are they going to use him in the show? Is he going to be a deterrent to the show? Is he going to bring them to the show? Luckily for me, Jason Momoa is one of the best dude bro actors out there. So when he comes in, he has that, and he's a nice guy, dude. I know my family knows his family. I don't know him personally, but my sister knows him personally, and he's a typical laid back. Like what you see him in his interviews, that's how he is, right? And because he knows, because he's comfortable with who he is, it shows in his acting. So if you don't like that type of actor, I understand that, right? That you don't. Okay, that's not my cup of tea, right? As far as an actor and the way he portrays himself, for me, it's like it fit right in. And then he enhanced Stargate Atlantis to me. One of the best episodes with him and what's my boy's name? I don't want to mess it up this way. Teal, right? From Stargate, the original Stargate series. One of the best episodes in there is when they both met because, Ronan was like this tough character, and then Teal from the first one was a tough character, and so Teal was seasoned, is the veteran. He's coming in, and then he was going to help Jason Momoa, but Jason Momoa didn't like him. So they had this really cool fight scene, which was egged on by Shepard because Shepard was over there betting. It was just a bad thing altogether, but it was cool, right? So that's what he brought to the table, right? So my point is, I don't care that he's my race or my culture. Is it cool for him? Yeah, good for him, man. Because I don't, see a lot of Hawaiians out there, But I look at him as an actor first and foremost. And then if you're going to occupy my world and you're going to step into my world, right, and try and sell stuff to me, dude, you better bring it. I don't care about all that other stuff, dude. Never did. It's one of the reasons why I don't like X-Men. Like what people are talking about X-Men now, dude. I didn't need to see like a Hawaiian X-Men in there, dude. It was the X-Men, dude. Whoever was the X-Men, dude, it was the philosophy between Xavier and Magneto that drove that conflict between them. But as a person of any background, whether you feel ostracized, that's the best word I can use. You're just ostracized person. You could just read that comic book and put yourself in there behind any of the characters, right? None of that other stuff mattered at the time. At least when I was growing up, dude. And then, of course, me being into the art and the story and all that kind of stuff. And some people definitely have better runs than others, man. But for me, that's grade A right there, man, across the board. That's the best of the best when it comes to comic books, man. And I know I'm biased because I'm a Marvel guy and I love X-Men. But as much as that team and what they've gone through, just look at the Avengers, dude. The Avengers is like, oh my gosh. Dude. I love the Avengers, dude. Don't get me wrong. I love them, dude. But it's just like Marvel once again, dude, not being able to shake that younger brother mentality because DC, right? You see that anyway. I don't want to go down that rabbit hole because then this thing will last even longer. Toolman, hey, yeah, dude. Hey, yeah, thanks. Yeah, Toolman, I'm just, if I get anything across, brother, I just really want people to know, dude, I love this stuff. Dude. That's why I did this podcast today because I got a lot of flack from the Marvel guys. And I'm like, dude, I'm the type of person, I love something so much, dude, I have to, I get upset when it doesn't. There's so much things they could be doing right now besides what they're doing to make the brand. They had the opportunity, dude. Again, when I watched that trailer, the reaction of Chinese Avenger fans, right? That was about 10 years ago. They had this opportunity to make this thing go interstellar. They could have just. I think they could have pulled it off because a lot of people are saying like they talk about superhero fatigue. I don't believe in that at all. People are talking about Marvel fatigue. Don't believe in that at all because I don't. It gives them a pass, right? It's bad writing fatigue. It's poor decision fatigue, right? It's poor. It's all of this stuff I can't write fatigue. These guys can't write. They can't make characters. They take old characters. They whip them around and they stick their ideology. It's all of that stuff, right? So usually when you get fatigued or something, I think of being fatigued as like if you get tired of chocolate. As chocolate alone is just good. If you like chocolate. But then you get fatigued of it. Maybe you have too much. You got to take a break from it. You know what I mean? Then come back to it. Marvel, superhero fatigue didn't happen. It was just bad. And again, I say this because it was just piss poor. They just ruined it. Right? I'm not going to give them any way out for this. I'm not going to make excuses for them. They just crapped it all up. And they're not learning from it. That's even worse. Yeah, but thanks for that, Tom, man. I appreciate it, bro. Appreciate you being here. To me, a Norwegian Trump is a very anti-democratic. So America is stuck with a fossil Joe Biden. But what do you think? Dude, it's hard to say. It's hard to say because I think so much damage has been done that even if he comes back, it'll be hard. There's a part of me that just thinks if I was him, I'd just wait for everything to collapse. Because he's going to get blamed for everything. And when I argue with people about this, dude, I would, especially now, dude, because this is to me, this is a turning point for the country right now, and so, we'll see, dude. We'll see, dude. I highly recommend, dude. If I'm being honest, Dude, I've already started looking at myself and my family and what I could do moving forward, regardless of who's the president of the country, right? Because you got so much stuff going off right now, and the country is definitely in flux to the point where a lot of cultural norms are affected, and a lot of foundational stuff is cracked when it comes to what people think. Um, I'm not saying that the people are gone, but I'm just saying that the structures, the pillars. Yeah, that's a better thing. The pillars are definitely cracking. So I would definitely start looking at what you can do for yourself, your family, for your loved ones, for your community, especially. Like I live in Hawaii, like I said, dude. If things went bad here and the economy went bad, and like all of our stuff is like either shipped or flown in. So if supply lines die once again, right, and there's no out, you know what I mean? So people would have to learn how to survive here, and it would be bad, man, because there's so many people that live on this island, and the resources are limited. You know, there's issues now with that kind of stuff, overfishing and stuff like that, or people fighting over fishing grounds, because even though you're surrounded, people don't understand this about being on an island, dude. Even though you're surrounded by the ocean, it doesn't mean like you can just go anywhere and fish. You know what I'm saying? There are certain areas that people would gravitate towards, and if people are trying to survive, right? That's where all this chaos and stuff you see glimpses of it right now in the media, and I don't think people. If I'm being honest, fan, I'm just gonna be honest with you. People are just ignorant of the fragility of society because they're so entitled and so spoiled when it comes to certain things. You just expect things to be where it is. Even now, right? When you go to certain stores and they don't have anything, and then when they do have something, you got to pay an arm and a leg for it, right? Or sometimes you go like there's gas stations here, they don't have gas. I stopped by the gas station, I was good, they're out of gas, so I ended up going to this other one because nobody goes over there for some reason. And I'm like, okay, great, so I can always get gas here. I think because it's a little bit more expensive, but you know. And I know another reason why, because it's a 7-Eleven attached to us. A lot of local people go there because we go in and you get our salmon or musubis or stuff like that. So I know that's probably another reason. So they shop more than most. But then I have an alternative measure. It's a little bit farther away, a little bit up the road from where I'm at, but it's there, and I take advantage of it. That's the way my thinking is. If you don't, I'm a two-way supporter. Always have been my entire life. And a lot of it wasn't just about shooting guns or owning guns. It's just about I'm a very I think the government needs to be in check. Right? They're overreaching. For a lot of us in the gaming community, we saw that. I'm glad that happened in a sense because a lot of people in the gaming industry with the FTC stuff um, got a whiff or got a glimpse of at least what I share on my social media when it comes to government overreach, right? Stepping beyond their bounds, stuff like that. And then that's just video games, which in the hindsight, in the greater scheme of things, doesn't matter. And what I mean by that, guys, look, I'm not saying gaming sucks. I know what I'm saying is that as a gamer, right? Like if crap hits the fan, dude, you're not gonna be worrying about your Xbox or your internet connection, right? When the trucks stop, when the economy falters, gas so high that people can't afford to ship stuff like that. Right? But two-A person, but now I am a gun person, so I recommend to people to get training, go get training. Be a good idea to look at where you can move to if you live in a bad area. All of that stuff. So, sorry, I kind of get off. To me, a new region show. Yeah, the problem that a lot of people, where I think people get wrong about him is that they paint him as a right wing and a conservative and a Republican. He's actually a populist. That's why he's able to go across multiple political avenues. Right? He can go from left to right because he's a populist at the end of the day. Some may feel he's more on the libertarian side. I definitely don't agree with the social aspect of some of the stuff he does. And also, a lot of people don't like it because of his ego. Yeah, but I think Norway, right? Norway's even kind of changing their stances on a lot of stuff, right? So I don't know. Like I know there's things that he can do when he comes into office that can make an impact right away. But you got to remember, man, he's going against the government. And I'm talking about like what they call the swamp, which I think is so. I was offended by that. I'm not gonna lie when I first started using that because I'm a Florida fan, because the Gators play in the swamp, right? And I was like, hey man, go Gators, right? But it's apropos to what what he's talking about. I think a lot of people see that now, dude. It's just so incestuous in DC on both sides, right? And that's why people are just looking at this like there's no hope. People don't have hope right now, and so they're all pinning it on him, but he's just one person. And for some of the stuff that people say that they want him to do, man, look, dude, he's a president. He's not a king. So I think people should start focusing on what's best for them right now. Honestly, I think that's what they need to do, or what you need to do if you're not doing it already. I know you're new here, fan. Welcome. Like I said, I'm just giving you my thought process on all this stuff. And for me right now, I'm thinking, man, maybe I should put my son in the Air Force. Um, I'll talk to him about it. I'm not going to force him in there. But I'm giving him the spiel to join the Air Force right now because of all the branches of service, I think it's one of the better ones. And then I want him to pick what he wants to do because he does want to do computers. And I think that'll be great for him because when the crap goes down, he won't get drafted. Because if you get drafted, right, you 10 to 1, they're going to draft for infantry. They're going to do for front lines, right? Army, Marines. Well, Marines are good. Marines are all solid, dude. Respect to the Marines. And that's coming from a Navy guy, but they're gonna need people to fill those boots. So for me, I'm kind of like nip it in the bud. They're looking for people, right? Air Force is really good as far as training, education. They have a higher attachment rate for when you get out of the Air Force to get a job in various fields, high paying or above average pay. Who knows how the economy is going to be? I'm just saying. It's one of the things I'm looking at. Right? Because if you guys are looking at colleges right now, man, it's ridiculous. And the scholarships are rough. But I mean, they're out there, man. But the pool to get them is higher, right? And the economy being bad. This is why, this is the stuff people don't talk about. And granted, dude, look, dude, if you set yourself in life, and there are people like that, right? They set yourself in life, like you got a good retirement, or you did the right things, right? I'm not crapping on you. So you can weather this kind of stuff, but you have to still be cognizant of it because there's a bunch of people that can't weather it. And those are the people, right? This is and I see it here again where I live. I see it, man, because this is the place where people like to. There's a lot of tourists like to go out, man. And they like last night we went to go eat at the sushi spot, and it was packed. And I was like, we waited for over an hour, and I was like, man, a lot of people are there. But when we went in, there were people in there, but it wasn't packed. And I realized that they only had one chef working, one sushi chef, and like only 3 people, and one of them was a busboy that was working the dishes and stuff like that. And so the turnover was slow, right? I'm talking about little stuff like that you can pick up. But when you drive through McDonald's, right, the meal that was like $7, $9, I thought was ridiculous. Now it's $12. Oh, hey, Dea. Yeah, sorry, I'm kind of wrapping it up. But as Unlimited said, my wrap ups are like 5 hours. So, but yeah, I'm gonna have to go because thanks for coming. Sorry, this is kind of off thing, but this will be a regular thing, Dea. If you wanted to jump on, but it's all going to be about pop culture. We'll touch on video games because it's part of pop culture, but we're going to talk about I've been talking about the woke stuff, the DEI stuff. If you want to get involved, I know some of the brethren won't want to because I delve into the politics of it. But since, like you said, Microsoft flipped that script, dude, we don't, we're kind of hurting for content on the Xbox side, and I'm not doing it just because of that. I've always been charged with that, so I took it as a sign to kind of talk on these kind of things because it does matter to me. But yeah, like you're saying, the Xbox flipped that script, dude. I mean, I think like you're saying, like they're gonna go. You are Unlimited. I know we're saying this, but they're gonna go the alternate route to dominate instead of the way I wanted them. Guns blazing, come on in, drop the nuke, wipe everybody out, so then we can all stand there with the flag. We won. That's me, and I've been 100% from the jump. Yeah, thanks. Okay, just going through this real quick. Yeah, well, I talked about Disney Star Wars, right? So being very distinct about it. Basically, I'm just complaining is what I'm doing. That's what this whole thing's been about. I'm trying to drop some knowledge, but at the end of the day, I get blowback. I wanted to do this podcast to give people an idea what the podcast is going to be moving forward. So when people listen to it, they have no qualms about what I'll be talking about, so they're not shocked, right? If they tune in, like the people watching and stuff have been in and out, because they might not like what I have to say, but I'm going to be 100. So I'm putting down the gauntlet so that you guys know from the jump where I'm going to go with this kind of stuff. And I might have people in here that people the usual guys that support us might not like. Again, that's another heads up for you guys, man. Not on the front, man. Just letting you know. And I want to be 100% with you guys, man. I just am. You can agree with me, disagree with me, tell me where I'm wrong. I'm fine with that, dude. Like I say, when it comes to social media, dude, I don't have to unfollow anybody because people tend to unfollow me. That's how strong and my convictions are on certain things. Dude, this is how I bleed green, man. This is why I've never stepped away from Xbox. I made adjustments that like everybody else does, but other than that, dude, I still bleed green, and I'm never gonna change. That's how you know, guys. Like if it was 10 years from now, and I'm still kicking, still repping Xbox, and we're still in the same spot with gaming, I'll be preaching the same gospel. All right? You can take that to the bank, 100%. I'm never gonna own a PlayStation. I'm done with Nintendo. It's Xbox, all Xbox all the time. And like I said in my previous show, when they was there once Xbox is done, dude, I'm done. That's it. I'm stepping away. I lived a good life, man, especially when it comes to gaming. I've experienced it all pretty much more than most. Again, I'm not trying to blow myself up. I'm just being honest, right? I've seen it all. I've experienced most of it. So, it is what it is, right? At the end of the day, I'm just going to be myself. So, yeah, we did talk about Star Wars, but it was more of a complaining thing. Um, After the, I don't know if you saw the Acolyte trailer that dropped. That was just for me. I mean, I've already stepped away, but for a lot of people that were hanging on by that thin thread, that was the final nail in the coffin, right? Because of all this stuff, they were still holding out hope, and then of course it didn't help that George Lucas is supporting. That came out. Rumor is that it wasn't him, but somebody else. But anyway, it was all the buzz this week, and he's supporting Bob Iger. He's putting it behind Bob Iger, and that was the other one. Because a lot of people wanted for Rodham to take over. He lost that battle, and then George was going to step in, and now with what he's saying that battle was lost, and so Acolyte trailer dropped, man, and everybody could tell by just watching that trailer. Nice trailer though. As trailers go, I thought it was cool. Plus, I'm a bit biased because my boy from Squid Game, he's one of the main Jedi's that you see in there. I wish he didn't do it. I saw him at the Star Wars thing celebration, and again gave me I was holding that hope for him because what they're doing is they're trying to jump on that K drama bandwagon, so they're inviting these guys over, and on their side, dude, they have that's the thing that irks me about a lot of these woke people in Hollywood. They're pro like diversity and all this kind of crap. Have no idea that other countries have their own industries, right? So these dudes are like coming in, right? And they're like, "Oh, who are these people?" Like, see, this is what I mean, dude. If you're diverse as you say, well, you should know who these people are. So I don't like them coming over because I think that kills their potential to actually cross over to mainland Hollywood because Hollywood still dominates. Right? As trashy and demonic and evil as Hollywood is, right? I mean, it's still as industries goes across the board, it's still what these guys want to make it, right? So it still has clout. So a lot of these guys coming over, right? But I mean, I think it's a wasted opportunity, especially since a lot of the stuff that they produce is not good and it won't help them at all. My advice to them or their agents is like, don't do it. I mean, but if they're getting paid for it, right, that's another thing. So your views on other subjects match mine really close. Andrew. Oh, thanks, Theo. Yeah, I kind of had that feeling of it. I think a lot of it has to do with guys like, like with all of us in our group, we're kind of like the older generation. You know what I'm saying? And I'm pretty sure you were like me when we were growing up. We didn't get much sympathy when it came to things from our parents. Like my grandmother raised me, dude. I couldn't tell her nothing. This woman would, I couldn't complain about washing clothes, right? Because this woman washed it in a river. With an actual washboard and I had to hang that stuff up, dude. And you had to work back there, dude. All I'm doing is throwing it in a machine that does it all for me. And then I gotta move. And then we had a dryer, so I had to mosey on over to the wash and put it in the dryer. Oh my gosh, woe is me. But you know what I'm saying? But I actually lived it, dude. That's why people get mad at me because I don't call it refrigerator. I call it ice box because that's what my grandmother used to call it, an ice box, because they actually had to have somebody deliver ice to them. And then they put the ice in the ice box, and when that thing melted, dude, that was it. Ice box gone. It was done. Right. And so, that's why I still say that. People are like, no, it's a refrigerator. Why do you call it icebox? I was like, well, that's why, right? Because my grandmother raised me, so I know that story. And because she would say that all the time. And, that's why they have to salt a lot of stuff, dude. The food that I eat here is more of that older generation. So my brother and sister can't eat some of the stuff that my grandmother made, like like a sour poi, like stuff that was salted or stuff like that, because that's how my grandmother made it. So I ate it. So when you grow up on it, it's easier, right? But I appreciate that. I have that feeling. You know, for most of us, we have one thing I like about our group, though. We are diverse in the sense of like we don't agree with every single thing, because you need that. I feel it's important you have that. That's something that's lacking a lot of these echo chambers. That exist, right? This is why a lot of stuff is not as good as it could be. Like when you watch a certain show and you see those writing, that writing room was just people just patting themselves on the back, or people have the same type of mentality. You don't have that one guy that's gonna say, hey, I don't think that's gonna work, but they fire him. He get canceled and he get fired because you've seen it happen in Hollywood. Or I don't know. I've seen this. I've seen the reports and the stories, right? And I follow people that cover this extensively, right? So I know that it's happening, right? So when you do that, you take out that element that could actually push back on you, and that's the thing that gets me about this stuff. They look at it as a negative. This is stuff that you can use to help you to grow, especially like if you have a generation of people and writers and stuff like that that don't want input from these guys because they're old and white. Right? I'm like, dude, I don't play that, dude. Regardless of what your race or color is, dude, it's not that. It's their experience, or maybe because of their race or culture, right? You could glean something from it, from their experience as that type of person. Regardless, dude, I grew up in Florida in the South, dude. Right? You got experience. You have experiences of particular races there that actually grew up with some hardship, man, on both sides, right? The growing up on the other side of the railroad track was something that I hear that all the time, but that's something I experienced myself growing up in Florida. Dude, they didn't care. Like, they don't care what your color is, man. You was just poor. If you was just poor, you was just poor. And you're too busy trying to like make money and feed your kids and all that stuff. That's just the way it was, dude. And it was everywhere, right? So I don't. That's why I would never take an opportunity to learn from somebody, especially somebody that's old school or older generation. Because I think that's one of the problems with a lot of the writers we have now, dude. They can't glean good stories because they don't look at the classics, or they don't understand the classics, or when they read it, they're offended by the classics, or they don't want to take the time to know something like fan random. Just to give you an example, like with the whole Trump thing, right? Yeah, there's people that don't agree with things I have to say, but if you're a business person, man, and you're interested, dude, that he is successful, right? So you might want to listen to him on that front, if anything else. And that's with anybody that's not ideologically aligned. Like I said earlier, there's a lot of Xbox guys that I don't agree with politically. I can see by their posts. Like I'm pretty sure they see from my posts, but they bleed green, right? And they're actually good at games. And there's information they put out there that I don't catch. So if I just put up my walls, man, then I'll be ignorant. And then I'm also set in my ways, and I'm set on my principles, dude. So I'll stand there. I'll defend myself. Like Mar the Fifth. I'm not saying he was being negative towards me, if he is or not, but he asked a question and I answered. I'm not. If I have ponies in my chat, I don't care if they're in there. Thank you for the view. Thank you for clicking. Thank you for the click, right? Because there's nothing you're gonna tell me that's gonna change my mind. Some people might say, "Oh, you're just an old stubborn man." Okay, fine. Right, but my whole thing again comes from principle. I'm not saying that I don't look at things, but if it violates principle, that's why it's easy for me. Like I told you guys earlier, dude, I'm a Christian, and I see Christians struggling nowadays, and they ask me how do you about certain things. I'm like, look to God, look to the principles, look to stuff like that, dude. The stuff on the man level, it doesn't matter. The times will change, people will change, people's principles will change, dude. If you're on the Xbox side, you see people flip flopping all the time. Right, so stay to the fundamental, the core of what makes Xbox. Right? Why do you play Xbox? I love it. Why did I buy an Xbox? Halo. Ding ding ding. That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying they can't change or expand. They are. In fact, they're doing everything. Right? But if you have your core foundation when it comes to Xbox, you won't be losing your mind just because one studio said, "Oh, we're not gonna put our game on there." I'm like, cool, man, cool. I got like 10 other games I'm behind now, dude. There's games that I said I played day one, dude. I haven't touched them yet. I have not even bought Yakuza, dude, because I haven't had time to go to the GameStop. Because I have to it's out of my way. Right now, I've been busy. But I got that over there, dude. I wanted to go down to the North Shore and pick up that special edition shirt. Couldn't do that. So you're not going to put your game on the console? Okay, cool. And then again, I use Sifu as an example, right? That came over, but I'm like, or the cat, that stray game. Those finally eventually came over, but I'm like, look, bro, I'm no disrespect to your game. I'm not saying your game is trash. I haven't even played it. I don't even know what's going on with your game, dude. And then to me, Sifu looks cool. But I'm like, bro, you wasn't here day one, bro. You wasn't here on the jump. You made a choice to go support a brand, and I'm not saying you had animosity or that you hate Xbox. I'm not saying any of that. You might, I don't know. I can't read your mind, bro. But all I know is that you made a conscious choice, and maybe it worked out for you, and you did that, and then you wanted to do that because whatever reasons, right? And that's a business decision. That's fine. I'm cool with that. Even if it's a culture decision, dude, that doesn't affect me, right? But right now, you come in here to me, right? And you're telling me right now, like, okay, here's my game, and I'm telling you, well, you're gonna have to wait in line, bro, because there's a level to this, right? Xbox has their own studios and their own games that I play. There's a bunch of games that I play over repetitively, like COD, and like I'm finding all the Tales of Arise, unfortunately. But there's Warhammer, Dark Tide. There's a bunch of games I already have queued up. Then I got Game Pass dumping games on me. I have all these games dumping on me, man. And then the main kicker for that is that these dudes showed up day one for me. So I'm gonna respect them and I'm gonna show up for them. So yeah, bro, step to the back of the line, dude. No disrespect, dude. You made a conscious decision. I'm making a conscious decision of how I'm gonna support your game. Right. So I'm glad you're here, right? There's people that'll buy your game. So that's good for you, bro. But right, as far as me and my money and how I'm concerned, dude, you can wait. And by me waiting, I'm pretty sure I'll pick you up as a $3.99 on one of the many sales that Microsoft has throughout the year. Microsoft, you need to tone those sales down. Have a little bit of pride, guys. You guys are just throwing everything. You like that kid on the playground, man, that brings the Transformers, and that's the only way you can get people to play with you. Had a kid like that at our school, man. I felt bad for him, dude. I felt really bad for him because sometimes not even the Transformer would have people play with him. Dude. That's how bad that's how people didn't like it. Sorry, dude. I won't be supporting a game that doesn't even want to drop a game where I play it out of principles, things like that. Yeah. That's how I am too. Yeah, to your point about us sharing the same type of idea, I think I go a little bit further than you in a sense because it's like, oh, not really. I mean, but I'm just saying, like I just said, dude, I'm just that's like a red flag for me, man. That pops real fast. And again, dude, like I said, I maybe because they look at it and they believe the narrative that because there's more PlayStations. So like a business decision, they say that there's more PlayStations out in the wild. That's why they're going to go there first. Or maybe PlayStation paid them. I don't know what money, but maybe there's some perks PlayStation. Maybe they, I don't know the whole deal behind that, but he decided to do that. Or maybe just like Sony, or maybe they just like developing on Sony. How about that, right? And then they have a legitimate. Like I'm not saying he lied, but I said he just wants to focus on PC and the PlayStation because we all know. But eventually, it looks like PlayStation is going to bring their stuff day one to PC. So he wants to be on that tide because he believes that's a business to me. That's a business decision. That's dude, that's fine with me. I'm 100% because we ain't hurting. This is why I try and tell Xbox guys all the time. We ain't hurting over here. We're not dying. We're not dying for content, man. Get your head out of the whole, the whole thing that's going on X and social media and on the internet about how we suck, right? Because you play your games, that's not the case. And for a lot of this stuff, you can weaponize that, for your own self, man. Like again, the silver lining in the dark cloud, dude, is you can use that to your advantage, man. Because you can use that as a thing. Like, okay, well, if we suck, then I'll just go play games. I'll go see how much we suck by trying all this stuff out. Go do that, man. I'm telling you, man. You guys will not be disappointed. Like I said, I'm struggling. I'll have some time this afternoon. I want to do a podcast with Sega, man, because I wanted to get his bars off, man, because a lot of times when we do this stuff, he doesn't get a chance to talk about it. Oh, I did not know that, Mr. Kima. They were. So what happens with the money? See, this is why. Again, guys, this is why you need a broad base, because I had no idea they were funded by ID at Xbox. I heard that they were on, and I know they were on the one of the ID at Xbox things, right? What is that? Their showcases? Oh, they were funded. Okay, so that's a whole nother level right there. That's a whole nother level. Dang, thanks for that, for dropping knowledge on me, Mr. Kima. See, Mr. Kima is one of the best, dude. You guys don't follow Mr. Kima, man. You got to follow him. He knows, he's on it, dude. He has it all. He has it all on lockdown. Wow, that's a bitter pill to swallow. I wonder what. So I see people hashtagging Sarah and Phil and stuff like that. But there's people doing that for caustic reasons as well. But I did not. Okay, so this is a good discussion to have next week because I'm pretty sure more of this will unfold, right, Mr. Kimo? When we do the Wrecking Crew podcast, man, like, this is a good topic we can talk about because I do want to hear the people's topic about it. Fun fact: Norway has public tax returns. Yeah, that'll never happen here. Well, I think we do in a sense, but dude, our government can't even pass a budget. And they can't do it here, man, because there's so much dude, if you look at what the salary is for these guys, and then you look at their actual net worth, man, a lot of these dudes are like making 125 or $220,000 a year, which to me is a lot of money, right? A year, but then they're worth millions of dollars, dude. Come on now. That's the kind of stuff that irks me, man, when people start talking about only specific figures in politics, right? Like especially when it's somebody they don't like. And I'm talking about across the board, right? I'm not a half-assed kind of guy, bro. That's the problem I have. A lot of people don't like me because like I've had people attack me for my stances on certain thing or people that I support, and then I'll be like, oh yeah, cool. Like if you did something wrong, then you should be thrown in jail, which kind of kills the conversation. But then I throw back at the end of them. But I was like, yeah, but what if your boy did something wrong? You should go to jail. Well, what happened there was I'm like, see, this is why we're not the same. I'm not the same as you because even if it's a person I like and they did something wrong, especially in the sense of the public trust, man, I actually believe civil service is exactly that. It is service, just like military service is service. You serve at the behest of the people. You serve at the best of the greater good. And by greater good, I'm not talking the greater good of the government. That's where people get it mixed up. It's not the government; it's the people you serve, and it's the principles and the foundation that you should be upholding. So a lot of the stuff that they're doing, which they do without even thinking about it, is absolutely 100% wrong. So there is no moral compass when it comes to these people. This is why I can't take anything they say seriously. That's kind of my defense mechanism, if I'm being honest. If somebody tries to attack me on something, I was like, dude, your moral compass is askew. Like they used to say in the old movies, your moral compass is askew. So you can just step off because if you want to go down this black and white, nuclear option road that you want to go and try and draw me into, let's roll. That's how I roll. Dude, I don't care if you're right, left, middle. I don't care where you are, dude. You're doing evil stuff, dude. You need to go down. It's probably the reason why I am on the Republicans. I am a Republican, and I am because I can't stand my own party. Right? Gotta hold those guys accountable just as much, especially them because they pro themselves to be not religious, but they principled. They put themselves out there to be principled. A lot of them say they're God fearing. I don't know. I don't see it sometimes. Right? They say the right things, man, but by their actions you can tell. Right? So it is what it is, brother. But I don't. Yeah, that'll never. These dudes. I mean, I think we do. I don't know all about that stuff. All I know is that what we need to look at here is like how these guys making their money. How you can have $125,000 a year salary and you're worth $30 billion or $30 million. And some of these dudes are in a span of years. I might let that slide a little bit. I still would want to investigate if you've been in like some of these jokers have been in like 40, 50 years. Right? Term limits, right? So some of these jokers have been for a long time. So that I'll kind of let slide. I still want to be investigated, but man, when you've been in only for 2-3 years, man, you went from like living off your mom and dad until like you have like a apartment in Manhattan now. Inquiring minds want to know, right? Well, the rest of us out here struggling, man, trying to pinch 2 pennies together. So let me get this straight. Xbox has had an indie version of Scalebound. I thought Xbox was getting smarter with that. Oh, I got there with the throwback. Ooh, yeah, we should bring Scale back up. It's about that time, dear. We gotta bring it back. Put it back into vogue. Ah, perfect. Yeah, 100% right there. I mean, again, Mr. Kima, you dropped the bomb on me, man. I can't. So what can I say? Right? If I'm gonna be 100, what can I say? I can't say nothing. That's something I did not know about. So that's something that, in fact, I won't even comment on anymore because I gotta have to process it, and I do my research. We all can't be like unlimited. He has the gift to do that. So shout out to my boy Unlimited. Indeed, the IRS is underfunded and the rich people stay tax evading. Yeah, if you're a person that's I'm the type of person, like, in a sense, I don't. If you make, I'm more about like if you're taking advantage and making your money in illegal ways. Because again, like the red flag for me is like, how did you do that? Because then when I listen to you as a politician, you're an absolute idiot. You know what I'm saying? So there's like, so I can't correlate the two. Right? It's like, okay, so you don't, you're a horrible politician. So how in the world could you be a financial whiz and grow your income? I mean, did you like, was your dad rich and disowned you? Was your dad like a multi-billionaire, disowned you, and then you guys patched it up before he passed away? You know, it's like a K-drama storyline. Did you get? And then all of a sudden you had all this money. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, like how did you do that, dude? How did you do this, David Copperfield? How did you work your magic? Because when I listen to you and you talk about policy or you talk about stuff that you should know, you sound like a moron, right? But then all of a sudden, like you're supposed to be some kind of financial whiz that can navigate the stock market or financial fund or market funds or stuff like this to grow your poultry 200, which isn't poultry, I'm being sarcastic, to 175 to $220,000 a year annual salary into $30 million, dude. Did you win the megabucks? Right? Like, did you like win the megabucks and then had a good run in Vegas? I don't know. Do you have a piece of property somewhere that they struck oil on, and then you sold it to China? Do you have a ginseng farm somewhere in the hills of Tennessee? What is? How did you do this? Oh, great and powerful, oh, great and powerful wizard. Like I want to, like, I gotta know. I gotta know the particulars. Oh, what time is it? Ah, guys, I gotta roll. I didn't realize. Financial wizardry of insider trading. Yeah, that's what I was trying to avoid saying, right? But yeah, you're right. I mean, we all know, right? It's that understood uh, same thing that we all know it, right? Or even worse than that. Okay, I'll throw a grenade in there, guys. Why do you think all of a sudden everything's about EVs, right? Then you have then you see some of the problems EVs are having, or some of the deals they make with other countries, right? These guys are all making money off of that stuff. Oh yeah, I got you, fan random. Yeah, wizardry, 100%. Yeah, dude. That's why. This is why, like, the whole budget thing is always an issue. Like, I have people telling, why can't they pass that budget? I was like, dude, it's just like, like if you're in a marriage, right, and then your husband doesn't want to show you what his paycheck is, or your wife doesn't show you how much money they make, right? They should all be out on the table, so you both can plan accordingly, right? Because they got stuff on the side. I'm not saying they got a side piece of. Well, they might have somebody on the side, but what I'm saying is like maybe like they like to go drinking with the boys more than they'll, but there's reasons why people do that with their money, right? And it can lead to problems. Like in the case of this country, dude, we're heading towards a breaking point. But guys, I'm sorry, I'm gonna have to go. I appreciate everybody being on the podcast. Mr. Kimo, Fan Random, man, thanks for being here. Toolman, man, thank you, bro. Yeah, I appreciate what you said, brother. Yeah, if you ever want to be on, dude, let me know. Pepe, man, glad you're here. Sorry, I went down the dark road. Heba, my brother, I am so sorry. Heba chastised me on Sega's podcast. I'm sorry, bro. I just got so much stuff going on. I just really don't have time to plan this. It just happens when it does. But I will say I will contact you for the podcast that I have for the All In Cast or the Working Crew. I'll do you that solid, brother, which is next week. I'll get back on track. And Marmar the Fifth, again, dude, I didn't mean to misinterpret what you said or whatever, bro. But I mean, hey, bro, I mean, welcome, dude. You disagree? You agree with me or not? I just hope I answered your question. I'm sorry, guys. I was off studio when I was looking at stuff that I had to prep before I left. Um, but anyways, yeah, thank you guys for being here. Appreciate it. If I missed anybody, I'm sorry. Yeah, thank you for being here. Take care, Xbox All In. If you have to leave, it's okay. We'll see you again soon. Thanks for the podcast. Yeah, no worries, Dale. And then we'll do like if you want to be on this podcast, like what I'm gonna do is it's gonna be early mornings on Saturday for me, so probably midday for you guys where you guys are, and then you're more than welcome to jump in and we can talk about all that. And I know you have a lot of background in it, and just a little that I've known you and talked to you. I know you're a huge fan like me, and I know that you can bring it with the anime stuff. And we have a lot of talked about when it comes to anime, man. They have so much good stuff out there. Fan Random, thank you as well. All right, guys, Xbox Online channel, host Sega Forever. I'm out.